And if everybody could please stand and join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. You're up.
And we're expecting it, so. Hello, good evening, members of the board. We're gonna go ahead and start out by, we put together a brief slideshow. It's about 30 slides in total. I understand there is a full agenda tonight, so we're gonna try and maintain some pace to it. The majority of photos will be, at least the first half, you'll see like the befores and afters. And then towards the end of the slideshow, we'll focus on like the pool, UPK and TRA, giving a bit more pictures there. What I will say is, we can PDF the PowerPoint and send it to the district so that if you'd like to look at it afterwards, in more detail, you have that opportunity to, but just want to kind of keep that in
Yeah, that would
context.
be great if you were willing to do that.
Yeah, it's too big to transmit now, but yes, we will.
Yeah, that's
And I
fine.
apologize to those in the seating area that may be blocked. So we're gonna go get started. The first of which we'll highlight is the CEA main office renovations. One thing I want to just quickly point out on the before photos. So the before photos we've taken using a 360-degree camera. So when you download that and try and compress it to a 90 field of view, it is going to make some of these images look like really narrow. Like in the next one, the corridor, it's going to think it's like 3 feet wide. Obviously, we know that's not the case. So this is before and after the CEA main office renovations.
Can I stop you a second?
Yes.
If you would stand that way, then the audience could see that would be
Yeah,
perfect.
absolutely. Yeah,
Sorry, my teacher concept came out. Thank you.
Does this thing do video too? Like, what?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we've been standing uncomfortably close to it, or like every update, so that's good to know, because that's kind of weird,
Thank
right?
you.
Well,
So,
it was for the amusement of the.
yeah, right, but I'm kind of tall, so you can
We get
understand.
texts that talk about what you're doing when you're. It's a lie detector.
So then the CA corridor renovation, so here primarily what we're trying to highlight is lighting and ceiling, so we did lighting and ceiling replacements, it is quite the difference in that corridor. The next was a really cool one, this is kind of a bit more credit to the district here, but the CA gymnasium renovations. One thing that we will have coming is the bleachers, that's along, I guess, the far wall, that gray wall, if you will. Those will go in over Christmas break, but I mean, the paint job that the district had is really, really sharp.
Is it really such a big difference between the colors of the
It is,
floor?
yeah.
Yes, it is.
It got
Yes, it is.
totally resurfaced.
Yeah, the whole thing, they stripped it all the way down. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
it is. It really is. And I can notice, I know it's not dropped down, but there's like the baseball cage, that black netting there is a drop down like baseball and that they've been practicing, so I don't know if I do those things.
Okay, so you gotta Google Drive that.
No, I don't know if I have something. Okay, so moving on, the entrance vestibule renovation, so we did some really nice tile work along the wall. Again, this is one where the before looks way too narrow to be true, but yes, in that new transaction window, so increased security in that vestibule area.
I know this might not be your problem, but I wanna make sure somebody's aware. Whatever's happening with these two rugs in the front, when the rugs get doubled like that, the doors get stuck open.
Mhm.
And me and the janitor actually had to like pull the rug out and move it, and so there's some sticking that happens, and we don't want the school district to become unsafe with the door staying open. I'm not sure it's yours, maybe it's just something we need to do with the rugs act, but we noticed that, and I just wanna make sure you're aware.
We'll look at it.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're gonna jump on over to the high school main office. So again, a little bit of a smaller scale renovation than what we did at CEA. The district had some work done as well, as some carpet work that was done outside of the project. So collectively, you can see quite a transformation in there too, so.
Can you just speak to the reason why this was done? I mean, so that like, if you look now, everybody has in their line of view that they can see. The idea is that so the SRO's office is now right by the door behind those desks. Both secretaries can see out to make sure they can see what's going on. Before they were sort of tucked in and couldn't see out.
That's correct.
People wonder why did we even do this?
Yeah, so.
Safety.
Yeah, enhanced visibility, right, for people both approaching the building and then those maybe that are already in the vestibule through the transaction window, so yeah, spot on. So then next, we'll also highlight just the entrance vestibule and kind of part of the main office renovations, that new secure transaction window, and then the nice tile work around it. The next will be the high school guidance suite. Admittedly, so what we did is we added a brand new office, that door to the right, that goes into a new office. It was a bit difficult to photograph, it's not, but that's what we did there. We also renovated that other office in the corridor, but you know, I was trying to match the photos as best we could for you. So the next one here, this is the high school file storage room. So what's going on here is it's Sean, you gotta help me explain this, but it's this ceiling concept so that more or less, as we were instructed by the district, we want that place to be like a vault. So we made them a vault. And by that, we have this clean agent fire suppression system, because you have all files in there, right? Like student records. So of course, like a traditional water system would ruin that, right? And so we put in this specialty ceiling, all those, like they all interconnect and they drain to a sump pump at the very far back of the room. So yeah, I know our colleague Rick, who's not here with us, he's been doing this 30 years and he was like, I haven't seen one of these before. So this was a nice new experience for us.
And that's the idea behind that, if there was ever anything above the ceiling that was leaking, that it would be trapped by the ceiling and then it would drain through the ceiling system. So we wanted to make sure that the contents still oversee.
Whose office does it go to? Did you plan that?
We can talk later.
All right, so the next photo here highlights the high school loading dock repair. Now, I do want to preface that the before photo was already with some demo happening. The school district did not have their loading dock in that kind of state. So I do just want to clarify that. While I had this one, some other scopes of work, so we did some masonry restoration at TRA. That one's a bit more difficult to photograph the befores and after, but there is some scopes of work that we chose not to put into the slideshow, but don't want to lose sight of that, right? It's not as flashy as a new pool building, but these are things like the loading dock that are pivotal to the ongoing operations of the school. And I know I'm sure the loading dock workers are much grateful for it. So. Okay, what do we get to? Okay, now. Speaking of kind of anticlimactic road, we do want to make a note, we're not totally done with this yet. We will top coat it at the end of this upcoming summer. Because, you know, of all the work we have to do, all the, you know, the cranes, the steel that is still yet to come, we didn't want to put a brand new road and mess all that up. So now we're going to transition over to the pool building. So these are some befores, just the before demo. So next slide is going to show some demo progress photos. So you can see here, we've already taken the roof planks off, demoed out the interior walls that block them. And Sean, by all means, if you're just jumping anywhere. So this is a during demo, another kind of during demo picture. So you can see we've advanced it, excavated out all the materials, and we're getting ready to excavate for the foundations here. Okay. So next one does kind of merely jump forward a little bit. So we had the steel erection. Was trying to find some photos for you that showed the foundation progress. It was just a bit difficult to find one that would be worthy to present to you, to be honest. So that's the steel erection. Continue it on. So we got the masonry and the locker room rough-in. So you can see the mason scaffold going up. And then in the locker room, you see the below grade, you know, plumbing rough-in for like the toilet rooms, the showers, things like that. So then we're going to bring you to the current day, which a lot of you can see. So that's all like masonry scaffolding. They're doing masonry in there. That's because if you can't maintain more than 40 degrees temperature, you have to tempt it. So it's because we're doing masonry work in December. That's why we need to do this tempting. Looks really cool though, and makes for a great photo. And then we just want to close out the pool by just some future rendering. So, you know, this is where we are working towards.
And again, those are compressed images.
Yes, definitely compressed images. So moving on to the UPK edition. So what we got here. So before demo and site work. And then the foundation progress. So the left photo was, I believe, one of the district's SROs took it with their drone, which was really cool. And then you can pretty much see the equivalent ground view. I did like those. The steel progress, so the erection, then you can see the progress that was made. So there's steel top out and then the floor slab. And then we'll get into the really cool stuff. So the exterior wall progress and then the interior stuff, it's amazing. Now it's just a matter of. And then interior wise, so it's really cool. So the left photo is a view from the corridor as if you were looking towards the classrooms. And then the right photo is a view inside classroom 46, so. You can, oh, and then there's the rendering, I'm sorry. So then we go to the rendering. So you can see exterior and that photo to the right is sort of the same angle that we were just looking at in classroom 46.
So how tall are the ceilings in this classroom?
They're pretty
height.
tall, they're
We don't
very
actually-
yeah, they're very similar to the other UPK classrooms.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much almost like a cookie cutter.
It really is, yeah, the copy and paste of it, yeah. Which has been, some of the contractors like, well, what do I do about this? Well, match it to the existing. And no, it's actually, it's nice. They have a reference to
Right.
like physically go look at something.
With some improvements based on.
Yes, feedback from the last edition. So then just last area is the TRA. So TRA renovations before demo. And really all we've gotten to at TRA is we've completed the demo, so we've opened the whole space up. That's really where we are current day. And I will talk about this in the update, but this has paid tremendous dividends. The ability to advance this demo has paid tremendous dividends. We've uncovered a number of conditions that we now have the time to work through, rather than, let's say this is June 27th, and we are like trying to get all that done in a very, very short K-12 summer. So we really appreciate the district and the TRA staff for their accommodation of this demo.
What type of things have you found?
Well, these are in RFIs now, but go ahead, Sean.
So
I'm gonna
you
talk.
can see the existing flooring on the right there.
Mhm.
There's a couple little different elevations. It doesn't really show up well in the picture here, but there's a couple inch elevation
Yep.
difference. There's some of the existing substrate that's really not in good condition.
The ceiling's not, some of the ceiling areas are not patchable. You can see actually in the left photo kind of gives you the ceiling a bit, so you can see all those pucks, all the pucks where the previous ceiling system was glued to.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, we knew as a team with TRA being the age that it is, that we were undoubtedly going to uncover some stuff once we really got into it. So, but. We're beating ourselves. Again, this is really beneficial. And then just some renderings. We got a number of these. The left one is kind of a top-down view, and then that right picture is like in the steam room looking. I guess.
All right, so the smaller room on the left there is the side facing the road, which is over like the auditorium. And then the bigger room is.
This is
over
the fairgrounds.
Right,
Right.
or faces the back of the school, if you will.
So just, for the board's sake, it's hard to remember all of this, but, we were not really allowed to use this whole third floor as instructional space. So part of this project is that there's an elevator going up, which makes it accessible, and then suddenly we're allowed to use it as instructional space. So that, the fact that they figured out a workaround that's sort of gonna be on the side of the building, that allows us to have a lot more space in that building.
So we're not completely done uncovering, because we still have to do some structural demo of the roof to get that new elevator shaft up through, but
Yeah.
it's great that we were able to uncover a lot of these other items in the big floor plan there, but, so more to come there, but it's great that we've been able to find those now.
So that is the end of the slideshow. Again, we can PDF this. I'll send it over to Zach and Joanne. We can distribute it to the team. So we will jump over and get into the November. So understand it has been some time since we've last presented an update to you. Obviously, things have developed out there. I know we included both the October and November updates. We're going to speak more towards the November one just because of the time consideration. If someone has a specific question from the October update, we'll absolutely we can talk about that. So we'll start it off with I am going to skip the photos just because first of all, some of them were used in the presentation. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of it. So in terms of starting with the project issues and concerns, so the first critical issue and really the main one we're encountering so far is the pool schedule. So the pool schedule is currently behind. You might ask by about how much? Approximately 8 weeks. Now, when we say behind, we are referencing this against our milestone schedule. One thing I would ask the board to please consider is the milestone schedule. I mean, Sean and I quite literally put the milestone schedule together a full year ago, about December this time, as we were getting prepared to bid. It really is more for a bid tool, really just kind of gives the contractors a rough idea of where am I gonna be and when they're trying to plan out if they're gonna go after our job or not. So in that regard, what we can say is, standing here in this, I'm sorry, I got a bit ahead of myself. So if you look just down in the schedule and substantial completion milestones, you'll notice that we're still projecting an early August completion date. Now, you might say to yourself, hey, you've just told me we're 8 weeks behind, but you're projecting to turn it over on time. How are you gonna do that, right? How are you gonna get there? What we've done to work towards that, that's where I got ahead. So standing here in December, being that we're 8 months away, we're not throwing our hands up and saying we're not gonna make it. The team is every bit working towards that goal, and we do believe it is feasible. Steps that we've taken to, like an action plan that we've implemented, we've started to pull plan with the contractors. What it is we bite off a 6-week portion of the schedule, right? What that enables us to do is to have much more in-depth, detailed conversations about what that 6 weeks looks like. It allows us to sniff out, hey, have the contractors really thought it through? Do they know how they're gonna do the work? If not, well, they have some homework to do. Number two, it allows us to respectfully challenge some of their plan. So, they have a plan to do everything sequentially. Well, maybe we can, find ways to stack some of those activities, so we're picking up time there, right? And then third, and as we've talked about, it identifies constraints. And that's probably the most beneficial part of those pull plans is those constraints that, we can work towards resolving with our design team so that they don't stop us in the field. So we've seen, we've held 2 so far. We've seen good, and we get them all in the trailer. It's good buying pizza, supporting local businesses. So,
So under critical issues, we identified the pool and it's not we're in trouble today, but it's something that we're identified and we're keeping an eye on. We're working to plan to get it back on track.
Did you have anything else in the pool?
I was just gonna hit a couple other.
Yeah, just to close it out, what I would say is one of the constraints that we had at the concession facility, right, is that it was a small building. So it wasn't able to just flood it with tradespeople. That is something that we have working in our favor at the pool building, right? It is a much bigger facility. And so we do believe that we'll be able to get, trades from different disciplines in there working concurrently. And so, of course, we're gonna come back to you. We'll be presenting to you much more before, August 2024. And we will update you as we progress. So I'm sorry for the long-winded, as you can see, I think.
Makes sense.
Sean, you wanna hit on the rest of the
Yeah,
critical
so
issues?
UPK, we ran into an issue. We think we've got it resolved now, but when we're putting this together, mineral wool that we're using on the exterior walls for insulation. Turns out there's material shortage that's really coming down the pike, and they're projecting, not being able to get it till like March.
Yeah.
So it's a long lead time, but we were able to get together with the design team and come up with a better solution to go with a 3-inch and still get our rating instead of the 3.5. So issues like that keep popping up and we're continuing to work through. But at the time we're putting this together, we identified that. Pool equipment and laundry storage, we had some structural repairs that needed to be done to that existing wall. So that's the wall between the gym and it's gonna be the new pool, but it's an equipment room and a laundry room on the pool side. We've got engineering solutions to it. We're working through with the contractors now for pricing and revisions to like custom shop drawings so that we can get those installed. And that's part of our pull plan session, identifying items like that and then working the resolution. The full repair of the existing west wall, there are some bad spots in the wall, if you will. Again, working through those with the design team to come up with solutions that are not cheap and easy, but most cost effective and or schedule. A couple of the other concerns we had were, TRA existing floor and ceiling conditions. I think we touched on that. Pool tile, discontinued the tile that was selected. So we've got a meeting tomorrow morning at the.
John, we're going to the dull tile that we're going through that.
So we've got a meeting in the morning to pick some other colors, hopefully that are in stock and won't be discontinued. Achieve dry-in, again, working towards getting that in January at the pool so that we can continue the interior work. And then the CEA pool roofing in January, it's concerned, it's very, weather this time of year is always.
It's not ideal to do. In terms of the workforce metrics, so I just shot about 3,000 hours worked in the month of November, brings our total project hours to 38,385 total, so quite a lot of workforce. Sean, probably averaging about 20 to 25 tradespeople on site per day, probably most of them masons right now, but schedule section, that's, you can see our contractual is projected. Project budget, nothing's really changed in that section. In terms of change management, you could see the number of PCOs. So as of this agenda, we had a sum total of 101 PCOs issued, of which 52 of them to the GC. You can see the pending and approved columns. We have with the board report attached a summary of change orders issued since the last update. So if there are any questions, we could go into those at the end. Sean, in terms of the QA/QC report, you want to?
Yeah, the QA/QC reporting, we don't have any open current deficiencies. These might be things that we find when we're walking the site and we tag. Hey, you've got to go back in and repair that stud because it's crooked, things like that. So don't have anything really to report on other than that, that's good. Some of the special inspections that are ongoing now are grout sampling for the CME block because they are load bearing walls, some of them. So the out to take a sample, and to date, no real major deficiencies there. We've got some minor abatement coming up this Christmas break down at TRA, kind of their make-ready work for that elevator. So listed that there. We'll be doing some sampling over the break and welding inspections, steel inspections for plumbness are ongoing. And then concrete repairs, concrete rebar testing, again, kind of lines up with mason here. Upcoming material delivery, we did get our FRP doors and hardware, which is good. They're on site. That was a long lead time item, so we're happy to be in receipt of that. Steel joists for the pool, these are about 75 foot long. They do have them. They have to go get hot dipped and galvanized and then come back to the site. So we're working on planning that as part of our full plans when they can come. We've identified a couple dates, but looking forward to that in January. The pool dehumidification unit, that is manufactured, it's ready to hit the site. And again, it's just trying to coordinate that with the steel installation. And then steel decking, it was a long lead time item. They do have it in the shop, which is great. Anticipated on site here in January. Just to outline some of the upcoming work, we've got the pool. We've got some more steel to erect on the outside wall. That's the one closest to the high school. We'll call that the east wall. Still need to erect some about 5 or 6 columns in there and then all the roof trays. So that'll probably be up in January. Pool, continue seeing new walls and install roof joists. UPK, we got MEP roughing, which we're really good shape there, probably about 75% complete with the MEP roughings. And then we'll move into sheetrock topping out on the walls and then continue to sheetrock finishes from there and then start piecework and things. TRA, like I said, we got done with the demo. We're gonna start some layout and come up with solutions for some of the existing conditions that we expose there over the next month and a half. And then a little bit of work over at the bus garage, roughing in some conduit for the new generator. Probably have to do a shutdown over Christmas break. Gonna try and schedule that on a down day where it's not impactful. And then punch list corrective work is ongoing. Engineering summary here, we've got about 7 open RFIs. And that number changes daily. I think we might be even down to 4 today.
Yeah, yeah, well, the TRA ones got put in, so about 7's accurate. I mean, I'll speak to the submittals. On the submittal end, we have made substantial progress in terms of the open construction submittals. Across the board, I mean, out of something like 1,200, we're down to 115 open, so we've made headway there. Closeout submittals, we have gotten some of the closeout submittals started, primarily FOSs with the stadium. That was really the jump in closeout submittals. Then as Sean mentioned, special inspections, so a total of 228 to date. And we have NCDD stands for non-conformance deviation or deficiency, of which we have none open. And then the final section, contractor payments and district purchase orders and incidentals to date. All of these reflect current metrics. So you'll see in terms of total project payments, we are about 60% paid out. That concludes our update. So questions?
Clarification, under the QAQC report on both months.
Mhm.
For those that may not know, can you go over each of those companies and what their scope of work is?
Yeah, so
Yeah, so I mean, in the far left, you can see we've abbreviated it. So with Upstate Companies GC, that would stand for the general trades contractor. I don't know, do you want to select specific kind of what
No,
scopes
just
of work
so
fall under
that, I
there?
mean, the abbreviations are there, but.
Sure,
Some people
okay.
may not understand the
No, that's
function
fine.
of what they each do.
So the GC general trades contractor, MC would stand for mechanical contractor, that's Lewis and Pachano. PC is your plumbing contractor, Evans Mechanical. EC would be electrical contractor, that's Matco Electric. SC, your site contractor being Foz Construction, and then PW is your pool work contractor, that being Patterson Stevens out of Buffalo. So,
Thank you.
of course, no. That's fine. Other questions?
Oh, good job on your risk mitigation with, moving things ahead of keeping track of the schedule for the end of the deliverable. That's always challenging and tough to do.
Yeah, right, because it's one thing to identify a problem, but then it's an entirely different thing to, put a plan in place. How are
Clearly,
you going
put a
to
plan
address
in
it?
place, yes,
and
to try to understand
Get the
what
train
works.
back on track.
Yeah, Yeah,
absolutely.
so good job on that.
It's looking really amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The third floor of the TRA, you would never guess there was that much space up there, the way it was all divided up.
Yeah.
Really pretty exciting.
It is.
The board all set?
Yep, just we're waiting to see what else you'll find at the TRA.
It is an old building.
4,000 gallon septic tank cap under the building.
Yeah, hopefully no remains.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thanks, Molly, for letting me invade your personal space. Oh, yeah,
About UHS presentation.
I appreciate it. I love you guys. I didn't have time to save one, sorry. Yeah.
I think it's two different.
Other two different ones.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Oh, look at, I get them all. Love it. Thank you. Oh, this is wonderful.
Take one second.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
a huge stack.
Take one stack.
Thought I had to divide it up. That's what I was.
All right, while you guys are doing that, I wanted to introduce myself. It's been a while since I've been to a board meeting, but I'm Courtney Alice Jamison. I'm the nurse practitioner for the district. And I have been with the district now, this will be my 7th school year. I'm here every Tuesday in the building, interacting with the students, the staff, doing everything we can on the medical front to keep everybody healthy and safe. So they've asked me to come talk to you about lice today. And Jessica Burke, our nurse at the CEA, had put together her master's thesis project on lice. So she would have been here today, except she's at the concert that's taking place at the same time. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here, but she was happy to share her PowerPoint that she put together. And I'll sort of go over everything. So what are pediculus humanus capitis? So it's a scientific name for head lice. And it's a parasitic insect that live in the hair and facial hair. And there are 3 stages of the life cycle. So the egg stage and the nymph stage, which is basically right after it hatches from the egg, takes 7 to 10 days to become an adult. And as an adult, the lifespan is approximately 20 days. So they lay eggs that are almost cemented to the hair shaft within about 1/4 of an inch. If it's much past 1/4 of an inch and they hatch, they might be unlikely to feed within the 24 to 48 hours after hatching and die. So they have to be pretty close to the scalp to be able to live. So if they're falling off and onto the floor, they have to have a meal within 24 to 48 hours to survive. So a lot of times, once they're falling off their host, they will die. So who are affected? There's no great accurate count because a lot of the time they're not reported, and a lot of people do at-home treatments, so it's hard to keep a good count. But the most affected group are the preschool and elementary age children, as well as their caretakers. So school staff, home, like parents and grandparents, and or daycare providers. There's approximately 6 to 12 million children that are aged 3 to 11 that are affected yearly. And there's no correlation between cleanliness and or their environment with the incidence of head lice. So that was one of the misnomers previously, that you have to be dirty to get head lice. I can tell you, I was in 1st grade, I had head lice, like it doesn't matter. Oh, there we go. Okay, so how do they spread? So really close head-to-head contact, so nearly impossible if you're sharing hair products, which is also a prior misnomer. You usually need at least 3 lice to transfer to the new head to create a new infestation. So some myths that are also around are that they can fly or jump, which they cannot. They crawl, they have little claws. That also can't go across hard surfaces. So fomite transmission, which means from, say, a carpet of a floor to a head, is unlikely. It's also unlikely if you're sharing bicycle helmets, baseball caps. If there's a high incidence, then we might want to think about having our own caps and helmets. And pets cannot catch lice. And head lice do not transmit disease. So the most common symptom is pruritus, which is itching, and that doesn't often take place until 4 to 6 weeks after the beginning of the infestation. So that is usually because after a while, the bites and the saliva of the lice themselves cause an allergic reaction in your skin, and that causes itching. So, and the other part of that is that it only happens in about 14 to 36% of the cases. Some people who have chronic cases lead to itching and scratching and then cause sores, which I've seen from the Indian. And some very rare complications, which we are super concerned about, is that after an 18-month infestation, a 4-year-old presented with alopecia, which is hair falling out, anemia, which is a blood disorder because they're drinking so much of the blood and skin lesions. And then another woman in her fifties left untreated with licensed scabies, had other secondary infections that needed antibiotics and treatments for things like eczema on other places of her body, such as face, trunk, extremities. So we know, socially, it's a huge stigma and economic impact. There's, like we said before, no correlation between cleanliness and live lice infestations. It's been around for a long time. It creates negative perceptions from others, unfair beliefs, shame with the students. School nurses aren't fallible or infallible, so sometimes they might get it wrong. I can actually give an example of my cousin's pediatrician told her that her daughter had lice. She treated her for 3 weeks straight, was crazy about it, and it was not lice. So it is terrible. So I understand how emotional and detrimental it can be to anybody who thinks otherwise. So full classroom checks, increased stigma. They're also a violation of student privacy, according to FERPA, which is the governing agent that we have to follow in the school. Overdiagnosis, overtreatment can cause physical harm because the home remedies that we can buy over the counter are actually medications called pediculicides, and there are lots of people who use home remedies such as gasoline, mayonnaise. Yes, kerosene. Right, so we don't want them to be using those unnecessarily or ever, but some people resort to that stuff. So we also don't want chronic school absences. So this also causes problems for the parents because they're having to go get their students, or the treatment can be costly too. So I was talking to one of the nurses today that one box that you have to use for treatment could be around $15, which is a lot of money for some people, especially if you're treating long hair past your shoulders. You might need 2 boxes to treat your head. We in the health office often have donations, or they buy it out of the school budget that they're allotted for treatment boxes that we can send home with kids that we know have those, and we can offer to families, but it's expensive and it's a lot of work to go through. So the pile of papers that is only 2 pieces is the National Association of School Nurses position statement. So it is the position of the National Association of School Nurses, the management of head lice infestations in school settings should not disrupt the education process, including but not limited to the elimination of classroom screening, forced absences from school for NITS and or live lice, and broad notification that a case of head lice has been found. So that's one of the entities that we utilize because this is the national association that the school nurses follow all of their recommendations on how to run a school clinic. And then the other place that we look is American Academy of Pediatrics, which is the other pile of 14 pages, which is the science. They've done the studies, they've looked at thousands and thousands of kids, and they also do not recommend keeping children with head lice home from school, as the rates of transmission are likely low. However, once a case of head lice is detected, children have had lice probably 4 to 6 weeks. So they should remain in class if we notice that they have lice. Because it takes a while for the lice to reproduce, and by that point, they have enough that they've already had it for a month. So what is sending them home going to do besides cause more trauma? And then the CDC also is recommending that we do not send students home early from school. They can go home at the end of the day, be treated, return to class the next day after the treatment has begun. If we know about it, we don't always know, so the thought is that we should expect that there's going to be lice in this population. And that we can do some things to help prevent it from spreading. We can educate parents, we can educate the families, the kids themselves about how to brush and wash their hair and look for things, not to share belongings. All sorts of different things. So like I said, we can do whole school education, we can potentially recommend, Mr. Preston and I were talking the other day about having a meeting with the nurses and the principals about what we're doing in each building, what's working, what's not working. I found on the, I think this is the Texas state website, but there's something called Kids Health in the Classroom. And there was guides on what, I didn't hand these out, sorry, on what you can do in different age groups. They have activities. Like pictures of what the kids can look at and circle, and then there's answer keys and questions that the teachers can go through with. But education is for sure number one, what we really want to focus on. We have families in the district that have chronic head lice. And if those same kids are being sent home, they're missing so much school. And they're already the ones that likely can't afford the treatments. And also, if they're in that socioeconomic status, we know that they're at risk for other educational needs. So we want them to stay in school as much as possible. So, does anybody have any questions or concerns?
What was that document you referenced that happened to me in Texas? That sounded really good. Maybe we can,
Yeah.
look at that for.
I'll have to, I meant to.
Kids' health in the classroom, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
it's-
make a note of that.
It's a
Thank you.
website, kidshealth.org.
One other
The health
question. What-
teachers and the nurses could use that.
What are the requirements on like daycare facilities? For. when
So-
they get-
Daycares are not my expertise because I'm only the school medical director, so I don't have a good idea of what the requirements are for even like our own daycare. They do fall under some different guidelines. And I know that there was some talk last month possibly about New York City. They also live in their own little world. They have different guidelines as well. Which is very strange to me because even our immunizations are in two different websites. So kids who transfer up here from the city, we can't get access to their immunizations because they're in a totally different country.
So I wonder if there's
So-
if there's separate
I do.
studies, if
Yes,
there's separate studies that pertain to the level of impact for those kids, because if the daycare shuts down, how many of those kids that now their parents can't have them go to school because they have to stay home with them because you know, it triggers that chain reaction, so it's a kind of it's unfortunate, but how do you handle that? I mean, there's gotta be something else that can be done.
so like I said, I don't have any expertise or really knowledge about daycare requirements. I can only speak to the school setting and from New York State, the CDC, which is the national governing body that we look to for everything such as COVID and those things. They're not recommending that we keep kids out of school, so I don't know that the daycare policies should be any different, but I don't know that for sure.
So some of the things that we've been talking about is, so if you look at all that information there, that, you know, it's not actually that easy to catch head lice. But
Yes.
something is happening, that there's something in our behavior or things that we're doing in school that it is spreading. So what can we control there, right? You know, so maybe just again, educating students and, I mean, not that we don't want kids to play together, but maybe, not being head to head for long periods of time, or in our little ones are active, that, we just keep some separation there. That's just good, healthy practice. Maybe, even though it's not easy to go from belonging to belonging, we do have open cubbies and jackets are right next to each other. So we talked about maybe like, in some classrooms, they do this. Because there are other things that can spread from person to person too, that are a problem for families. So can we have like everybody's stuff bagged and just make that normal practice and not stigmatizing to anybody, but just, good, healthy practices to keep things from spreading,
I'm pretty sure during COVID, we did see a significant reduction
Right,
because of the requirements of
that
our
was the only
guidelines.
good thing about it.
What I would like to recommend is to go back to that, because these young little ones and I have a friend that has little ones. Now that, and again, COVID is still there, we know that, but the little ones think it's not, right? So now they're back to germs, touch, I mean, I watch them, it's gross. They touch everything, they put their hands in their nose and their butt, and then they go and wanna hug you, so, unfortunately, they don't know any better, they're 4 and 5 and 6, So during COVID, they were everyone was, don't share, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. So maybe we get back to basics and kind of like you said, Joanne, just don't make it a stigma, just, kind of enforce that. You're probably not seeing the head lice as much in the TRA in the high school. It's probably an accurate statement, right?
The TRA still has a certificate.
Okay, all right.
I mean.
Maybe for the older kids,
Yeah.
probably not as much.
They're still elementary.
Sure, 4th and 5th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I would propose that because unfortunately, we can't hold the kids home from school. We understand that. So I think the best bet is, health education and try to make it fun.
Yep.
I like the pamphlet that you had there. Maybe do something like that. I think that the kids' health in the classroom is a really good idea.
So I understand that you obviously didn't make any of these roles. But how do you see that the broad notification of parents is detrimental in any way? And I'm not talking about naming any individual, but if a simple note or notification is made to parents, there has been a case of head lice. We never name anyone, of course. That's gonna help the parents. I have 3 daughters who all had very long hair when they were small children. Oh, I can put it up in ponytail, I can keep it tight, I can say, let's not play head to head. Okay, but my daughter in the 3rd grade, I believe, got lice. And she came home, I was astounded. I'm like, how did you get head lice? And I said, are there any children in your class? She started naming off 5 and 6 friends, girlfriends with also long hair. Then I got no notification. Oh, we can't notify anyone. Now, this is another public school we were at. But I'm like, I could have at least put her hair up. And the parents we could have educated our children at that time.
There you go.
But if we have no idea if there's head lice in the classroom, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think that should be changed.
We have the paper. I don't know if it was handed out last time or not. We do have something that we sent out. Morgan's our LPN in the elementary building, and we send it out periodically. But I think at this age level, the stigma is like, if somebody knows that somebody's gone home or somebody has it, they can name, like you said, they can name who has it because they already know, but
But the kids are gonna name each other anyways.
Yeah.
So now like half the class has it.
They're
So,
5 and 6.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just spreading and it's causing problems and it's
So I
it's
think
ridiculous.
one of the ideas of doing it this way is also that we are educating on prevention, so just assume that there's lice. Keep educating the families to be looking, brushing. It could be a bonding experience with your kids, brushing their hair, checking for lice on the weekly basis, checking for nits so that you can help treat it and prevent it. I don't have a great answer as to the not notifying, other than if somebody goes home and doesn't come back, that does single them out. But
But
then
more
again,
But we're
than
not
likely,
sending kids home, so it
Yeah,
could be an
right.
issue. Nobody should know.
the
We're
parents
not
always
sending
do
kids
have the
home.
option to come get them if there's a concern and they find it and they wanna come pick them up. They're always,
Well, then that's the parents.
right, yeah, that's on the parent, for sure.
So I just, I'm sorry, I have several things. I don't wanna, I'm sorry, you're not gonna educate a 3-year-old on how to find nits in their hair. It's hard, you just said for professionals, so that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. The parents that are gonna look are not the ones that are gonna have the chronic infestations. They're not the ones that are gonna keep re-inoculating the classes. We had it. I have 3 daughters. They had long hair. They had clean hair. They got it. We got it. We took care of it because we were notified also, and they were being checked. I mean, it used to work where when they were checked, you could find this out. And I read all of this, and this is just, I don't know. And I know you didn't put these together, but elimination of the class screenings because of disruption, because of the educational process. All these other people that are getting it are being disrupted. I mean, we've had several people come in and they're being very disrupted by this, and it goes, so. I'm not for the person, naming people, but I just don't see why it can't be checked. I know what FERPA is. I guess the way around this is that new steam room we have, we'll have the classes going in, all check each other and health, and I'm just saying, this is ridiculous.
No, I don't, but so just to clarify, at least by educating children, we're not talking that they're gonna check each other for nets or check around here.
No,
I mean,
I
educate you
mean-
about like not putting your heads
Just
together.
like
But it's
basic,
not
yeah.
working. If that's what we're doing, it's
Well,
not
no, I don't
working.
know that, I don't know that. we're doing
I don't
that.
think we're doing it, Tom, because
Yeah,
if we
that's-
were, the kids, I asked my best friend's son and he's never heard of it. So again, I mean, kids are pretty trained. They'll tell you anything if you ask them. And he's 6. So I think maybe their education is not happening with the parents, which obviously the kids don't know this, but to just the cleanliness, Tom. I mean, do you agree during COVID, these kids knew to wash your hands, keep your distance. There were certain things little kids did know during COVID.
And right now, and I was a proponent for a lot of things that were done, but I have a biology background, and the immunization, the natural buildup of immunity also is out the window, and now people are getting wicked sick. When I was little, again, sorry to this, we would eat dirt. I had 5 brothers. We did all this stuff. We weren't sick.
I know,
If you don't get that until you're an adult, then you get run over.
I know.
And so it is good to pick your nose and wipe stuff on things and do that as children. You're supposed to. So anyway, I'm sorry, let me, I had a couple of questions. The chronic headlights. If we know that it's chronic, and again, without singling people out, I know the community school people deal with this. Is there any way to have them addressed? Because if it's chronic, it isn't something like it's biological, it's actual a mechanical thing. If it's chronic, they're not getting it taken care of.
Correct.
Is there any way that the district,
We do.
without anybody knowing, can send somebody, and I know your pediatrician can give it to you, like, you can have it done. It's not that expensive. I'm just saying there's way too many reasons why this should not be happening, that we have poor people coming in here, that their life is being devastated because they found out too late that it was in the class, and then it's causing all these problems. I don't know. And again, I'm probably gonna get in trouble, but this victim shaming stuff is just like gone way, 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 way too far. It's ridiculous.
We do have, systems in place that we've used the district to try to help take care of issues, but it's not always feasible.
So you have
Very-
systems in place for chronic, because I think that's where Tom was going. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
We use the
Because if
community
you get
schools,
rid of
we
the
use.
inoculation
for that.
thing,
Is the health department, I mean, we get kids and we also, our health personnel have spent much time picking nits out of people's hair and doing all of those things to assist with this effort. The problem is if you have had the car light, you got your whole house, everything has got to be clean.
I know that, and
And
that,
it's hard for families, right?
but
So-
that's what I'm saying, that it is hard unless somebody comes in and show you how to do it.
Yeah.
I said, I know when we did it, everything in the world got cleaned, it got done, and
But as you know,
Close it.
many families don't have washing machines.
I know that, but I mean, if there's some way that then either, and I'm not trying to lay it on them, but community schools or the district, because if that's a chronic, then you know that that's coming in constantly. I'm not, I'm just saying that this.
So
this could-
clearly prevention is the best method, and I think Tom is saying, yeah, we should bring back head checks.
And-
So prevention, and if we don't want these toxic chemicals, which those treatments are not good, you know, okay, so we don't want kids exposed to that, you know, so prevention clearly is the best. Yes, education, but notification of parents, I think should be added.
No, I disagree.
Also, if it's that systemic, I mean, at what level does it become child abuse? You know, I mean, you're also
We
responsible
have-
for notifying.
We have
that.
also called CPS.
Yeah, neglect, I would say neglect for sure.
We have utilized many resources.
They're not,
including-
it's not an actionable thing for CPS though.
I
It's-
can't get into.
Oh, I
more
can, I
detail.
know what. I-
Okay, I'm just gonna say, universal design, we need to beef up our prevention education. If we think it's smart as a district to support bagging everybody's stuff to help with winter hats and gloves and things that can spread it. I also would ask us as a district to look at the environmental areas. Do we have teachers with soft cushy chairs where students can sit and lay and grab things can be passed? Are the carpets possibly an area that we need to consider? I would say an environmental check is a positive thing to do. This is the law, so we can't change the law without going to Albany and advocating for parent notification.
Oh,
Those
this is
kinds
the
of-
law.
This is the law.
This is
This
the
is the law.
legislature.
This is the legislator law. So if we want to do that, then let's get on board. Let's do that. I have 6 children.
This is,
We all had lice.
the law is that we
Yeah,
can't do
we cannot
notification.
notifications. They can't. It's the law. That's the law.
Yeah.
New York City's different. In the base of New York State, we can't do it. So let's, as a district, do the education piece. Let's get our health educators involved. Let's make sure that we're doing everything we can do for parents and families, community schools, helping the families that don't have what they need. How can we help to support them? That's what we need to do and do our best we can. You know, I had 23 students in the building. My first class, I introduced them to how to prevent head lice for themselves. Because they're the teachers. So that's what I advocate for. Let's do some environmental checks. Let's see what we can do more as a district to support our families that are struggling so hard. Because I know how much it cost me. I was very poor. And I remember coming to a basketball game one night after my 3 kids had been diagnosed with head lice. I found them all, not the nurse. And I was speeding through the 30-mile speed zone and I got stopped by a cop in tears crying. I'm supposed to be at my daughter's basketball game, but my kid's head lice. He didn't give me a ticket. So, been there, done this, and let's do what we can for our district and the environmental ways and educational ways that we are allowed to do.
And that's what I was trying to say. I'm not trying to say don't do stuff that's not legal,
Right.
but it's not working. And I'm a big proponent for an ounce of prevention. I mean, how much can we do to stop all of this going
I
out?
100% agree that we have not been focusing enough on prevention in the district.
If it's a statute, an actual law, we need to ask the attorney before we break any laws.
Yeah, and I don't think.
Think about it.
So-
You talk to friends.
Can I just say, I don't think that we're gonna have a meeting and we'll decide what other things that we can do and how can we notify families in a way that does not compromise anybody's, you know. I mean, I think there's ways that we could do that better also, you know, without,
Within the law.
yeah.
Parameters.
Never made any.
Eric, did you want to say?
Yeah, I have a recommendation I think everybody will agree upon because it's not really a gray area. I'd like to suggest that Zach or someone in the powers of the financial world look into some grant resources possibly for stocking each school district with treatment kits for those that are unfortunate to not be able to get to them, access them, or afford them. We can get grants for golden doorknobs out there if we do the grant right. So I think that's something we should look into, is trying to find a source,
Financial resource,
financial resource through granting
excellent.
or some sort of coverage that would cover us and stockpile. Not thousands, but a reasonable amount, you know, based upon your
Yes,
recommendation.
yeah.
So we do have a funding source
We
for
have
it.
some supply, but it often runs out. And sometimes the supplies that we have or that are available for the school to purchase don't have the actual, like reticulocide in it. So that is also problematic if we're not.
Keep stuff.
Right, because it's not the actual like mixed name brand or whatever. So that could be something that we could look to, if we could get the funding, buy it from an actual pharmacy.
Also,
versus
I'm
the
sorry.
school health place.
Right, because there are different varying strengths and different contents.
And lice can sometimes become immune to, the reticulocide, so
Is there a lice season
all year.
all year? So it's not a particular time or every year?
They can see an uptick of it when school starts. That's why October is considered the lice awareness month, because we see an uptick of it when students start becoming together more.
So being around each other helps it spread fast.
Oh, yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Slumber parties, yeah. all
So
those.
being in a group setting increases
Mhm.
the risk of lice. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Which
definitely.
I think could be also why New York City has a slightly different stance because of the population, but I can't say that for sure.
Just to kind of compound what everybody else was saying. I think if we're legally or acronymically controlled with the privacy, it was in your slide, NASA, NAPA, whoever, FERPA.
Oh,
There's so many
yeah.
acronyms. in
Family
the
education rights
world.
and
Yeah, there's
privacy.
tons of acronyms, not to pick on it, but it gets confusing. If we're okay to do so, I would like to see a notification and education procedure put in place as to, not specifically saying some sort of standard where we've got 3 cases in each school. We need to put out a general statement that we're seeing an increase of this infestation. And right on our website, put the information that you presented, because a lot of people aren't sure where to go. The old adages, the rumors, the myths are what everybody remembers. Bad news is always the most long-lasting news.
Right.
So maybe a reminder of, hey, as expected this year, there are some lice cases in the school, or even just a reminder
just-
twice a year.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say.
Just
that
a
there are-
twice a year
just
reminder,
that
be
there's
like,
an raise
Here's things
awareness.
to do to look for, here's the treatment options.
Might as well put bed bugs right under it, because they're worse than lice.
Bed bugs, actually, they fall under Department of Health, or no?
Still
No,
can't.
as I said, so these prevention things can tackle more that there, and there are
Yeah.
a number of issues that,
And
are,
it's not gonna be-
lice is one of them.
Yep.
But yeah, so those are the things exactly that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
What other things can we do, and how can we notify us in a way that doesn't compromise
bringing
people's-
lice.
Right.
One of the other
Lice
local
in the bag,
districts,
and goes
they have like a
back.
principal's letter that goes home. I don't know if it's every week or bi-weekly, but they have a section in the bottom for the nurses to write a blurb. So if they see an uptake of strep throat or of lice or whatever, they might say something in there and refer to the school website too. So that could be definitely something that could be done.
And the, New York City versus us. I did a lot of homework on this, and there's such places as Albany School District, Monticello, Auburn School District, a couple out west that still have no knit policies. And they have no
Lively.
live lice
Yeah.
policy still in place.
I don't see anything in the law that indicates you cannot send a notification home. So the only thing I would say back to Chris's comment about environment, did you not say in the slide, some of the myths are lice cannot transfer from baseball caps, carpeting and all of that. It's a
Less
myth.
likely.
Less
Yeah,
likely.
But
Okay.
hats.
The firmer ones, the nice soft
Right.
hats for,
Yeah.
it goes for that, so I mean, that was kind of
That was
misleading,
a
that
hard hat.
hats,
right,
anything that has a hard surface, they cannot
Yeah.
burrow
Right,
into,
yeah,
get a
they can't-
whole
right, that
lot
makes
of
sense.
air.
Yeah.
So that was kind of misleading, so.
Yeah,
hats definitely-
furniture, stuffed animals, all those kinds of
The
things.
furry stuff that they can actually hold on to.
No, I do have sometimes concerns about them dropping onto the floor, and some of the elementary buildings, they do have the carpets in the
Carpets, right.
classroom. But if we're vacuuming every single day,
Okay,
that should help
Should help,
prevent.
yeah.
So we gotta make sure that they're vacuuming those every single day.
Okay.
So it comes down to that we really need to raise awareness and to put in some procedures to make it less likely that it will spread. And of course, having the resources to help families who are have less fortunate or just having difficulty, because it can be down to,
It could be
It doesn't-
affordable, but you can't.
but you
get it
just
controlled.
can't get rid of it. I mean, I know that we went through it and it turned out that I'm allergic to nicks.
Yes.
So, you know, we had to find alternative methods in our household. And so I think it's just, we need to just make it, everybody more aware and get more procedures in place and practices so that it's not as easy for it to be transmitted.
And I just, again, would just like to reiterate that the chronic, if we can go above and beyond, because if you just give a hair treatment and they go home and all of their toys and everything else is there and it's not done right, I mean, you might as well flush it down the toilet. It's worse than not getting it at all because then the chemicals are on the head and it doesn't do anything. So I am, if this is one of the sources that keeps coming in, if there's some way the district can push even harder to, and again, it might not even be educate, but assist, because some people just, you cannot educate to the point where they have to be able to take care of it.
You
And
can't,
not to be rude, you can't teach some people certain things. You have to go in and actually do it.
and you can't force that. You can't
No.
force yourself into something.
No. But I know that, again, I keep saying it, but they have a very good relationship with a lot of people in community schools. I'm sure could do it very tactfully and get some of this under control.
And making resources available.
Thank you, Courtney. You had no idea this would be such an interesting topic. We had a very passionate mother in here last board meeting or two.
You had a
There's
grandfather.
been a couple
there's
of
been a
people
couple
that's been
grandfathers
very,
too.
very severely impacted to be able to come in and be very upset. I mean, that's,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's amazing. Thank you very much. At this point, we do need to recess the public meeting, at 7:10 to have a brief executive session, regarding legal, matters. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, Kia. Correspondence, there is none. Next up is policy discussion. Ms. Sexton.
This is a new portion of our agenda. If you just recollect that we decided that we, instead of going right to first reading, we would have some, period of time, 10 minutes max, where we could discuss policies before getting to first reading. So there's two things I wanted to make you aware.
Should I start the 2 minutes? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Maybe, yes. I'll be as quick as I can. So two things, I sent you an email, and if somebody really wants a hard copy, I can give that to you also, of the, Whitney Point Code of Conduct. This is the district code of conduct. It's the policy that oversees the code of conduct for each of the buildings. It's a required policy, that needs to be updated periodically. Ours needed to be updated. It had a number of things that were incorrect. And we had a committee that came together and did incredible work to audit the policy and make corrections based on New York State regulations and DASA requirements, because both of them speak specifically about what needs to be in the code of conduct. They also did a really good job in updating things just based on our reality in our world now and what's really important and relevant. And you will see there's a red line copy that I sent to you. So you can see what changes were made. And then familiarize yourself with that, and then we can discuss that at the next meeting. It's a big document. We did not touch the part on special ed, that there are very specific part 200 regulations around special ed. So Mr. Kaminsky may have just walked out, but he's probably working on that also right now. And Frank Miller is also been doing edits on that to make sure that that's all up to par. And then we'll have some discussion about it and then take it to first reading here. We also need to have, you probably know, we have to have a public session on code of conduct. So we'll incorporate that into meetings, okay? The other thing I wanted to just talk about is the policy on facility use. You know that we've had some requests, some information has gone out about what our facility use policy is, and I did make some copies if you would like to have that. In particular, the facility use policy regarding Sundays and holidays, which we have not allowed, with rare exceptions, facilities to be used on Sundays and holidays. We don't have staff on Sundays and holidays. So, you know, that's really been kind of the gist of the issue. Obviously, there's a lot of issues and concerns related to building use, but I'm just gonna kind of whip through them pretty quickly. Some of them are gonna be pretty obvious to you. We don't have staff, right? So there is wear and tear that happens in the buildings, bathrooms, equipment. There can be food left, debris in facilities. That's a concern. If you don't have custodial people on staff to take care of that, then it's left, you know, for Monday morning when the kids come in. The security of the buildings, if we open up the buildings when they're not staffed, anybody really can have access into the buildings. They can get all through the buildings, not just the area that's being used. Sometimes, even though everybody's best of intentions, as we know, because we have kids here all the time, it can be difficult supervising all students and making sure that they are where they need to be. We often have issues with doors being propped, which certainly compromises security actually for the people in the event. And then we've had many instances where they're propped and left open like for the weekend. And then, you know, especially in this day and age, that is very much a concern. And there also have been like, so we've been notified by the local police that there are people wandering, you know, and that they just, if they find an open door, or hear there's an open door, they can wander to get inside to get somewhere warm. Hopefully it does not necessarily do something really serious, but it's still not somebody should be in the building. So those are some of our concerns. But given the fact that, you know, we obviously are in support of the groups that would like to use facilities. There is a little language in this policy that I think gives some flexibility. As with most policies, there's a rule, and then there's a little bit of superintendent's discretion there. So for example, like I can, for special circumstances, say, all right, we don't use it on holidays and Sundays. Well, maybe except for this one event because it's a special event and we're gonna make arrangements or, you know, something like that. When we looked at other districts, they all have something different. Some schools are like us, it's only outdoor facilities on Sundays. Some don't do anything on Sundays. A number of them do on Sundays and they charge for staff. There's a mix, you know, there's no like one set rule. We're thinking that we would like to use that little part where there's some discretion for the superintendent to say, how about we have a trial period of allowing use on Sundays? And then having agreements, seeing how it goes if we're not gonna staff it. And there has to be like a designated person who would have a checklist and agree to do certain things, like, for example, checking bathrooms, you know, so at the end, like one of the big concerns, unfortunately, is sometimes kids mess around, they back up the toilets, we can have a leak, something can happen there, that whoever's in charge of that event, they agree that they're gonna make sure that before they leave, they check all the bathrooms, no leaks, no vandalism, nothing has happened there, turning off all the lights, making sure that all the doors are locked and closed, making sure that all members of the group have safely left the building, doing a sweep before they finish, making sure that all the doors then are locked, because sometimes even though you're in charge, you may not know that somebody propped a door someplace. So making sure that you're doing the sweep to make sure that's all secure, and then complete the notes section for anything that the building, you know, people in charge, the custodial staff and the building principals would need to know for Monday morning. Also having some like emergency numbers, who to call, like the head custodians, me, whoever, 911, if there's an emergency. Making sure that those people have all that information. And then seeing how that goes and then coming back before looking at changing the policy and having another discussion on that. The cost, I mean, if we were to have people that, you know, there's some considerations, and this happens in some districts, that there's a multi-step process if you're going to use the facilities when they're not staffed, that first you put in the request to see if you can use the facilities, then we check to see if there's any staff willing. If they work, if it's on a Sunday, they get double time. And then what, if there is willing staff, which is a complicated, long procedure, then that organization would pay that amount. That's actually a very common practice. But, you know, what we're saying, we're not sure. That seems like a complicated process. We're not sure that we can always get somebody to work. I don't know if we can get anybody to work. Sometimes one of the nice things about working in the district is you get Sundays off. So we're thinking, let's see how it goes if we just ask the people who are in charge to take responsibility.
I think that is an excellent compromise, and I appreciate that trial period. I think that's an excellent way to
Yeah.
try to see if it works before changing the policy, because there's been so much interest.
Yeah.
But I love your checklist idea and making sure that they actually do everything that's on the checklist and they're signing off on it. Maybe have like a second person confirming that all of that took place, like a first and a second. And then have those rules in place, you know, don't prop the door open, one door can only be unlocked, you know.
So we're also working on some things because that's a really big problem, with actually facility use after
In
hours
general,
all the time.
Yeah,
So we're trying to, gonna try some like buzzers systems that are temporary buzzers so that you could, like, cause people like, for example, we're used to, people come, they,
Yep.
you know, at different times and it's hard, so that's why they get propped open all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
years ago, the CEA had something like
So,
that,
yeah.
so that,
So that-
it would rang a buzzer
Rang,
in
and
the hallways, so somebody
So
would know that
somebody
there was
can
somebody
hear
at the
it?
door.
okay,
And there's like a light that can go off and we can use it both for like music and for also for the gyms. And then like you just have like a runner who go open the door.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that because it's really just not good practice.
it's
to have
not,
the
it's not
doors
safe,
open.
for safety reasons, security, we get it.
But
So-
also by them having the numbers and stuff, if there was an issue like with a bathroom, with something getting clogged, it can get taken care of as opposed to the head custodian coming in the next morning and finding it.
And I like the idea to see how it goes if there's not anyone willing to work on Sunday, even taking that initiative for the designated person, taking that role, see how it works.
So Zach's got a handy dandy form, like he looked at how he did, his little handiwork.
Wow,
Thank you,
Zach, you're the man. I love it.
Yep, so we, so this is what we're proposing, and then if we run into problems, you know, we'll obviously talk to the people involved, but also we'll come back and we'll see, like, again, to problem solve, what we do then.
I have a couple of really just quick questions, just, I'm assuming that people would be given tags then.
Well, they already are.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, for a Sunday, would the tags then be operable only from this time to this time on a Sunday?
Right.
And if, say, you know, Tom Casper is one of the ones watching, you know, in charge that day, and he can't make it, will there be an expectation that somebody will be notified that somebody else will be using that tag so that, you know?
Well, so what we're gonna ask
I
is
had that
that
same question,
anybody,
actually.
a part of the tag system is that you know who's coming and going, right?
Right.
So if there's needs to be somebody else in charge, so in a lot of groups, there's more than one tag, that each person who
Right.
needs a tag has a tag, so we prefer that the tags are not handed out.
Right. Okay.
And I would say if the tags are used by somebody else and we find that, then their tag is taken away and they're done. That's it.
Well, I don't know if I'd say done, but that,
Well, because it's a violation.
it is a violation.
Yeah.
But we have.
Well, I mean, because, part of this too was also like, so, we're obviously gonna have to meet with the people who are, you know. and
That have
go over
expressed
all of
the
this.
interest.
Right, and figure out who could potentially be a person that would be in charge, and then to make sure, because it is a big responsibility. like,
It is.
it's, you know, so are they gonna be able to take care of all those things and make
Right.
sure that everybody understands, you know, what are the essential things that need to be taken care of? We also need like, even just like garbage removal and things, I mean, you know, like I said, lice are not the only pests that we.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
there
lots
are
of lice and
other
stuff.
problems that we have, so we really kind of can't do
Right.
that stuff around either.
And Joanne, would this be for all three buildings? Did you have only a building in mind or?
Well, so our favorite building to do things with is the CEA because we can section off the entrance to the gym, and then you don't really have access to anything else. That's
Right.
a very convenient thing. We unfortunately do not have that in every other building. You may have
Right.
noticed that we actually almost tripped over those stanchions that we put up.
I just about.
That's some of what we're trying to do, is just to kind of give the message that you're really not supposed to be wandering all over the place.
Gotcha.
You know, I have to tell you, like, even, you know, our custodial staff is doing their business, taking care of their work, and then suddenly somebody's upon them because they just wandered, and it, you know, thankfully, it's not usually people looking for a problem, but they really shouldn't be all over the
Wondering,
place.
yeah.
And, you know, we've had things happen, you know, where people have come into the school and just started wandering all over the building, and, one incident with somebody with a big knife on them, you know, I mean, again, they didn't really have any malintent, but really they shouldn't be walking all over the building. So we're, in the other buildings, it's not as easy to section off. There's no, wherever we can do that, we're gonna do that. And then also ask people who are in charge to really message that you just shouldn't be wandering all over the place. Let's stay in the zone that we're gonna be in the TRA. That's the hardest building as usual. I love that building, but it's.
Ever since they made us take out the accordion
Yeah, right,
dividers.
right. We used to have those. So when you come in that building, you can easily go upstairs, you can go
Mhm.
everywhere. So we're gonna try and just put things up to kind of section off so that you're either going to the small gym or the big gym right down that hall, not wandering all over the place.
So would you consider then at least 2 out of the 3 buildings for this ask? Because we know where I'm going here, we have a group for baseball, which is ideal for the CEA, for, you know, strength training and all of that. And then we've had multiple requests for the basketball for the youth
Yeah.
club.
Mhm.
And obviously, if the baseball team's gonna be using the CEA on Sundays. And then we also have another request for, the, weight room to be open. And I know we probably didn't get to that, but that also is something that I wanted to.
So that is a little bit more of a concern because, yeah.
Big risk. That's a big risk.
All right, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, okay.
But at least 2 out of the 3, I think, would at least, support the requests that have been asked for the students.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do recognize when,
I think that as long as there's a mutual agreement
Yep.
between all parties.
oh, sure,
Because it's like we have to balance, we want the community to be able to use the facilities, but we also have to protect them, so as
So-
long as.
Yeah, and again, like I said, in doing this, we're gonna try and be as flexible as we can and allow people to, I mean, you know, let people use the facilities, but we really need to make sure that we can do it in a safe manner.
Yep.
The other thing I will just share with you is that we've also gotten some feedback with people concerned and not really interested in practices on Sunday because it's their family day, it's their church day, they're running all week and they'd like to not, but, you know, I mean, that's not our,
right,
obviously, we're not gonna be mandating anybody.
no.
Yeah.
But if you got 90% of the athletes that do want to practice and that 10% that doesn't, I guess it's up to the coaches to, you know,
Yeah.
have that discussion, but it certainly does help reduce injuries, right? Getting the kids ready and prepared for, you know, baseball season and all of that, so I'm sure there's people here that will be talking about that. But I think that's a very good compromise, and I appreciate you looking into it and being well prepared this evening to present that, so thank you.
So I had 2 questions.
Yeah.
One is, I was thinking more of the high school just because we're in here. Would there be a list of all the doors that should be checked before they go? Because I mean, if you're up here, but somebody went way down in the back, I mean, would that be something that all the doors would have
Also,
to
that's
be
part of the
checked?
problem. So whoever's in charge of that event, to really communicate to all families and kids, we're not to be wandering around the building. They were gonna use this door in
One
and out,
door.
you know,
But I mean, that-
park it up
they-
here. come in
You
and
can
out.
ask them, but
Yeah.
then would they still be responsible for checking all the doors?
Yeah, no, not in the whole building. I mean,
I would
The
say that they're
outside doors.
required to come in one door and that one door, and if you violate that, we will lose this privilege. I mean, we should be very clear about that.
I mean, we have cameras everywhere, right?
Well, that's
So
what
we're
I
gonna
was
try to
thinking
coordinate off the
too.
areas where we want
Use
to
the
control
privilege.
people.
You
At
come
the
in
end of the
one
day,
door, you go
it's
out.
hard. It's not the person responsible that's normally the issue. It's the families coming in and waiting.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say, because you don't even know,
That's
because you're being tied up.
the hard thing.
I've done a lot of stuff. at a lot
Yeah,
of
no, it's
meetings
really hard,
before.
yeah.
So my other question is, for these facilities, if there's a lot of requests, what's the priority? I mean, is it priority for conditioning for an off season or an actual during season that it's nasty and I wanna come in? Like, how is that gonna be decided?
During season, it can't happen because of the 7-day rule.
Well, I mean, youth group stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just, if you're referring to school sports, I can't have athletics in season on 7 days.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I was just meant
Yeah,
more for
I just-
youth, because that's why I thought we were looking at more youth stuff.
No, baseball is not youth. We got modified baseball, Tom, just to be clear.
Well, I'm not just looking at one sport.
No, I know.
One sport was asking, but I'm trying to
Right,
think about
okay.
everybody.
Address that when I get up to speak.
Okay.
Make that feel a little better.
Well, I'm just thinking, I wanted to know what, because if there's
Yeah, I mean-
multiple people,
I mean,
how
so
would
this
it be
part of this
decided?
trial period, I mean, so and like in some districts, they have an order of prioritization, like who's gonna use
Right.
facilities. So we're gonna see, in our district, we're small enough where people work together, school age and youth club, so we're hoping that we're gonna be able to coordinate that. By meeting with these people and figuring some of that out.
Would be in charge of the coordination.
Well, first, we're gonna meet with youth club, and then we have a system, it's an automated system that you put the requests
Oh,
in.
nice, okay.
Okay, so our 10 minutes are up to discuss this. I'm gonna do a quick straw poll. Tom, major question?
It was just real quick, I mean, Sunday's a long day and these guys aren't gonna be practicing for 8 hours. So, I mean, what's wrong with just making the CEA gym available? Schedule it out, it's gonna be,
Limits.
yeah, it's, okay, you got it for 2 hours, you got it for 2
Yeah, and that's
hours.
something that they can work out.
You don't have to worry about it. Well, it's
Okay, so Tom, are you in favor of
trial,
the trial?
yes, most definitely.
Eric,
Yes, I'm in favor of the trial.
Molly,
Yes.
Tiana? Tom, Casper?
With reservations.
Well, you're in favor of the trial and.
That's what I meant with,
Yeah.
yes, with
yeah, okay.
reservations.
I'm in favor of the trial if we can see the sort of application checklist sort of thing before it's trialed out. I want to just know for sure that we're being really conscious of, I mean, I know they got kind of mad at me when I said, if you give your key to somebody else, then you're done. Because we've had it happen before. We've had somebody give somebody the pool key and the pool key got into with somebody who wasn't, we could have had dead children. It's a violation. So I just would like to see the rules and the structures that we're going to do before it just goes forward.
So there's already, a form when you get your badge that says those things that you're not supposed to do, that everybody signs off on. And then this is the building use proposed form that we are.
Okay, so if we could just see that before we finalize it, that would be my important thing for us to see, maybe by the next board meeting.
Okay, I'm certainly in favor of having a trial to see if we can get this to work. There is no way to write a new policy until we have an opportunity to see what works, what doesn't work, and what needs to be tweaked. So there's no point in doing the policy and then rewriting it and then rewriting it. So, okay. Thank you very much for a good discussion. I think that we kept it close to 10 minutes. We do not have any policies for first reading. We do not have any policies for second reading. So ladies and gentlemen, we are about to convene into the first of 2 public comment periods. Each speaker will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the entire public comment period to a maximum of 30 minutes. This may be waived by a majority vote of the board. The board requests that each speaker stand, state their name, residency, we mean town, not your actual physical address, and topic of discussion. Please remember that by law, the board will not permit any public statements regarding individual students or employees. And just remember that while the board takes public comment very seriously, we are not allowed to comment or respond during the meeting, as this is our opportunity to hear from our stakeholders. Items brought to the attention of the board will be taken under consideration for future responses or action, or the proper staff member will get back to you at the appropriate time. It may not be an update in a future meeting, but the person who raised the concern will get a response one way or another. All that being said, do we have any takers for our first comments from the public? Mr. Walsh?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. If you could pass one of those along. Thank you. So, my name is Sean Walsh, alumnus 1999. I live in Lisle. I am here representing the Eagles baseball program from modified up through the varsity as the booster club rep. as well as the co-coordinator for the youth club basketball program, which are both of the organizations who have asked for the Sunday usage of the facilities. First, let me say thank you to Ms. Sexton and the staff for giving us the opportunity for a trial run. We're a small community, as I spoke last month, having the ability to bring these kids in. And you'll see with what I passed out, the 5 big reasons that Coach Samsel, Coach Morgan, Coach Saddlemeyer, myself, and Trooper Holichek, who coaches our Pony League baseball team over the summer, we really want to build a continuity program. You know, Nikki Houston is somebody who I've known for many years, and what she's done with field hockey is truly create a family culture. I want this town to be more than just a one program town. I am extremely proud to say that I'm from Whitney Point and that we run field hockey championships like it's what we do when we wake up. We need more athletics. We need more opportunities for our kids. You know, on top of that, I want to make sure that our kids are in a position where they are put where they can succeed, where they're not going to get hurt, where they're going to have additional opportunities after high school. Whether it be the lessons learned from athletics to the workforce, the hard work from athletics or music or whatever to their college or after school or after high school studies, whatever it may be. I've spoken with our athletic trainer, Eugene, and him and I are in concurrence that, you know, one of the biggest challenges with baseball as far as injuries go, and I've given Ms. Black the study that I'm referencing in my sheet, is that a majority of your injuries will happen in the first month of any sort of baseball activities. The recommendation from the JAT, another acronym for Board Member Scully that he'll love, is that we need to ramp up kids for baseball activities methodically, slowly, and under a controlled environment. We don't need anybody blowing out their elbow at 18, trying to learn how to, you know, going through the rest of your life, not being able to write your name because you blew out your UCL. So thank you guys. I know that Coach Samsel and I would probably be the 2 people, and everything you said as far as the tags go, 100%. I have a tag for youth club because I coach basketball. That's fine. We like the CEA for the controlled aspect because on top of what the school needs for their liability, we understand and appreciate the school giving us the opportunity. We are going to hold our kids, as this is above and beyond, to a higher standard. I have 4 of my varsity players here today. They came here because this is what they want. This is the type of things that we need to provide.
I'd like to motion additional time for Mr. Walsh to continue his discussion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay. So, you know, as Ms. Sexton brought up in her report, one of the biggest challenges would be staffing, right? And as a district, I think we all can agree that staffing is probably the biggest challenge we have. Meanwhile, for this, what we're asking for, we have the staffing. We've overcome the biggest thing. I have 2 phys ed teachers who are willing to come in on their Sundays. You know, I have Mr. Saddlemeyer, who is a district employee, but he's willing to come in. I'm willing to come in. Trooper Holichek. We all have families, but we do it because these kids deserve it. That's why we do all we do. That's why I do what I do with the Booster Club. That's why I do it with the youth club. Furthermore, these guys this past year came down and started working with our youth club. So it's not just helping seniors and juniors. Now it's helping kids in the CEA and the TRA. What's that?
I was
We
telling
might
Dave
need to
restart the clock.
Okay.
You got bonus.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So again, thank you guys. Ms. Sexton, I will get with Coach Samsel and him and I will formulate a time to speak with you and or whomever needs to, and we can go forward from there. So I just want to thank the board for your quick action, the administration for your quick action and your support in helping these kids have the best experience they can here at Whitford. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sean,
you,
for all you
Mr.
do. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak at this point? Keep in mind that there is a second opportunity at the end of the meeting as well. Okay, commendations.
The Whitney Point TRA students who were selected to represent Whitney Point at the BOCES Engineering Day, when they were put into teams to compete against students from around the area by creating Rube Goldberg machines. The transitional skills class for making stuffed animals for the organization, it's Raining Lemonade. The TRA Student Council for putting together the Thanksgiving baskets for many families in need. The Whitney Point Field hockey players Genevieve Houston and Sadie Short for being selected for the NFHCA 2023 high school all-region team. The community schools and the CEA administrator, faculty and staff and students and families for a successful holiday food drive. County Executive Jason Garner for visiting the Whitney Point varsity field hockey team to congratulate them on their New York State Class C championship. He proclaimed November 27th, 2023, Whitney Point Field Hockey Day in Burns County. The following Whitney Point High School students for their induction into the National Honor Society on November 30th, 2023, Logan Griffith, Taryn Hitt, Isaac Jordan, Abigail Lewis, and Kimberly Pearson. The Whitney Point High School Student Council for planning to preparing food boxes for 70 families in the Whitney Point area in this holiday season. They were working with St. Patrick's Church and the Whitney Point Food Pantry. Mr. Matthews, Mrs. Pullen, Mr. D'Imperio, and 6th through 8th grade bands and choruses and men's choir for a festive winter concert that was held last Thursday, December 7th. TRA 4th grade faculty, staff, and students for collecting donations of hats, gloves, scarves, lap blankets, and puzzles for the Northern Broome Senior Center. They're going tomorrow, right, Stacey? And Mrs. Gooseman, Mrs. Prokop, faculty, staff, students, and their grown-ups for a successful Cookies and Compassion event on Friday, December 8th. The ornaments and cards made by the students and their grown-ups will be sent to the Oxford veterans.
Yeah, that was, I saw some pictures online. That was really nice.
Thank you very much. Okay, old business, there is none. New business. We'd like to see our CEA presentation, please, and thank you.
Great pictures.
Thank you. It's full of a lot of pictures. I think last year we went more heavy, so I wanted to speak the words and let you get to see the pictures. So
Love it.
I'm Molly Houston, I'm the principal. Oh. I'm Lauren Prokop, I'm the assistant principal at the CEA. Lauren also oversees all of our pre-K and preschool programs, so we'll talk a little bit together about the CEA, and then she's going to take it over and talk about our early childhood programs. Okay, so you can see some pictures up here just representing what goes on every day. We have an amazing opportunity to be with the most extraordinary children and staff. The CEA is full of joy and happiness and a lot of learning, and sometimes some moments of a little bit of chaos. And there's so much learning and smart planning and smart work that goes on behalf of all of our staff. So we're just going to kind of walk you through a day in the life at CEA and also some of the extraordinary opportunities that happen. So it's a place full of joy and serious work, and learning is happening every day. So here you'll see that there's some illustrations of students who are cooperatively learning. The bus is rolling in each morning and each afternoon, and then an experience in one of our music classes. So the first thing I would like to do is say that we have the most beautiful and amazing children in the world, and their families are extraordinary and really support everything that we do. We have hiccups and we have speed bumps because kids are kids and people are human. But I have to say, 99.9% of the time, it really is an extraordinary day every single day. One thing that I also want to mention is we really have the most unbelievable staff in our building. The faculty is extraordinary. They work so very hard. They have attempted to attack so many different pieces of our curriculum with our essential standards and our PLC practices to help us become even better at what we do every single day. I'll talk to you a little bit about this handy book in front of me in a second. Our aides, I worked in several school districts. Our aides are unreal. They really are truly a step above every district I've ever worked in. They are so caring and educated, and they really are so committed to our students. So our paraprofessionals do not get celebrated enough. I I could talk about them all night. I also want to give a shout out to our custodial staff, our secretaries who are two Wonder Women, unbelievable, and then also our food service team. So we really have an unbelievable team. So I want to talk a little bit about our SMART goals this year. So of course, the CEA SMART goals come directly from the district school SMART goals. And so the way that we attack the graduation rate is with the way in which we can impact it the most. And so 65% of all of our CEA students will have a DIBELS composite score that will fall within the green, which is at or above grade level expectations by June of 2024. And our additional goal is to decrease the chronic absentee percentage by at least 5% points from 25 to 20% in pre-K to third grade.
So what is, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So what qualifies as chronic absenteeism?
So our chronic, well, actually, our next slide,
Oh, sorry.
Molly, is absenteeism. And that is something that Lauren has done a whole lot of work on with a subcommittee from our building.
Well, to answer your question, chronic absenteeism is 10% of the
It's
school year.
designated by the state.
10%?
10%
So 10%,
of our
okay.
school days, yeah. So we have the attendance committee, and we started that work last year, and started again this year. So we meet weekly just to kind of discuss what students are chronically absent, and then we establish action plans to support that family. It's mostly, our community schools, and, you know, Joe Kuchar goes out to support families and, communicate with them. We have some attendance initiatives, so, at the beginning of the year, our counselor does an attendance habits presentation. So she talks about, we come to school to learn, we come to school to play with our friends, but we stay home if we're feeling sick, and we focus on getting better, and then we come back. And then also an intervention we have in place is they facilitate attendance groups. So it's for those chronically absent students. It's kind of, it's just like a mini curriculum on why is it important to come to school? When should you stay home? What's gonna happen in your life if you come to school every day? So that's something that we work on.
Do you have a breakdown of the actual absenteeism in each grade?
Like per grade level, we could get that.
We can get that.
Thank
breakdown.
you. I mean, are you seeing it primarily in pre-K?
So we mostly see it in pre-K and kindergarten.
Yeah.
And some of the things are out of our control, like there are sicknesses that are spreading, and we do look every single week, and the school nurse is on our committee as well. So she really lets us know, these are all, yes, this child falls in chronically absent like range, but they had COVID and ours. So there are sicknesses that spread. So we really kind of figure out, is this student chronically absent because they're sick, or are they chronically absent for other reasons? And then we try to problem solve to figure out those other reasons. And it's really different, family by family, with why the student's chronically absent, so.
And then from this, you'll hear a little bit about our care team, which is connected to community schools, and how we even will dig down and find perhaps the student isn't feeling connected, a sense of belonging, friendships. So what do? We build a friendship group, and we have somebody meeting with them for lunch bunch and so on. So it's very creative interventions. So how are we going to reach that DIBELS composite score? So I want to explain this to you a little bit. So DIBELS is a testing assessment that we are doing 3 times a year. Now you might say, well, is that frequent enough? It's a very simple fluency measure, and there's different components to it. DIBELS is something that I remember using over 20 years ago when I was teaching first grade. And what's important is that it's a very, very research-based curriculum that assesses where students are with their ability to decode. And I'll go on with that because there's other 8 components. Now, what I want to tell you is that this is a new program to us. Shannon and Joanne and Lauren and I, we met an awful lot with folks from BOCES, and in particularly the leader to helping us attack this, Val Priskett, who's an extraordinary human being and does an awful lot of work in our building and connected with our teams, and they trust her, and they've embraced this 100%, but this has really helped us to attack how to reach those measures. I just want to go back for 1 second, because I do want to mention to you, so when we talk about these 3 times a year, the assessments, I also want to mention that UFly, which is the curriculum to attack these skills, also has an end of the week assessment every single week. And so every student is being checked for understanding and having a quick, formative assessment every single week.
And the curriculum's 100% free online, so we'll look at it.
Wow, that's impressive.
I also brought the book, and if any one of you would like to come over to see, you're welcome to come and observe. There's 3 components to UFly, which I'll get into in a few minutes so that you can learn a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about our community school. I know they're going to present later in the year, but I don't even have enough words to say how extraordinary those 3 people are. But also not just that, but we are a community school. So the system that's been built with our care team is really a community school initiative. And it's so strong. Lauren and I are 3 community school staff members that you know, as well as our nurse, our school psychologist, our school social worker, our school counselor. And then we also have Brad Solomon, our officer. He sits on that team, as well as we have our DSS family liaison, who is Annie Lockridge. She's amazing, and she sits on that team. And then we also have Nicole Rigodi. She is the family and children's long-term counseling provider in our building that works for family and children's in our setting. So it's a really strong team of people who are digging down. We get referrals every week. We meet every Wednesday, no matter what, and we dig down into what do our kids need. Now, the teachers turn in those forms for any student they're concerned about, or they email us by Wednesday at 9 a.m. and we dig down and we talk about those. Every time there's a student referred, somebody at the table of the group of us takes on as the case manager. So we divide and share, it's equal voice, and we get real creative, whether it's somebody had to help and get gravel for a family who needed a trailer delivered because they're sleeping in a camper in a van, to someone has lice, so let's get them the lice kit. I'll take it and I'll find out what St. Pat's can do for us, who's got a vacuum cleaner they can donate. Let's make sure that we have somebody call them back because we're gonna get them down to get the free laundry day through the church. That's $40 worth of laundry done, so on and so forth. So we dig down into what's that family's need or that student's need and how can we help them? And then we circle back and we email the teacher so that everybody's looped in. So it could be anything from a student doesn't feel like they belong and need a lunch buddy group, to a student is having high absenteeism or concerns, or a family has bed bugs and how can we help them out and get them the resources they need, to they are academically struggling or having a little meltdown each day at the beginning of math and crawling under their desk and need supports, and we need to figure out how to help them with that. So truly an unbelievable group of people. I also want to mention, you'll see the top right, our PTA, hooray for them, amazing. We had a PTA member in the room tonight who's on our PTA board. We've got a couple of teachers that serve on that team, and we do things like, it's unbelievable when you have all these families come in for a free Friday night movie and they'll say, this is great. My kids come in their pajamas, they bring their blankets. It's a free, safe space where they all get to watch a movie, and we brought their Halloween candy, we didn't have to spend a dime. So the facility is really well used to help support our families.
Real quick, Molly, how
Sure.
long have you had this community school? We're calling it community school, right?
It actually.
So since before I came, and I bet Joanne's got a better, longer answer.
It's a long time,
It's
okay.
in the 5th, this current grant is in its 5th year of 5, but we've had other iterations of it prior to that.
In that building is where we have the
Yeah.
full service community school grant. It's a grant through, it's a federal grant through Binghamton University that we partner with them, and so the funds flow through them to us. But yes, we're in the 5th year.
Oh, so in the 5th year, okay. So I've obviously heard about it. I heard about it last year when I was on the board, but it seems like you guys have increased what you've been doing.
Well, I think it gets stronger each year,
yeah.
and also everybody gets more creative.
There we go.
And
That's
we
probably a
dig
better
deeper,
word.
and we develop more resources and connections and trust with
Yeah.
one another to go for it. You got it, you go for it. So, and also reaching out to each other. when I'm emailing Beth and Joe about, somebody's laundry at midnight on a Saturday. It's a really connected group. I did want to mention, we felt like rock stars with Jared Campbell. And
I love
we had a
that.
concert at the park, and that was over the summer, and hundreds of people came, and our kids danced and laughed, and it was wonderful. Had lemonade and popcorn.
Thank you.
And so you'll see kids dancing around. That's at that Jared Campbell event that we had at Dorchester Park. And when you get to see them all come together and parents connect with each other who might not have an opportunity to make friends, they make their friends through their children. And so it's amazing. We have character assemblies, and our sort of little slogan is celebrating, exploring, and achieving at the CEA. Okay, so what does learning look like at the CEA? So, a lot of times it might look like play if you walk through our hallways. It might look like students are playing with instruments, or building with blocks, or working cooperatively to create a tower. You're also going to see always connecting with reading in the content area and writing in the content area to build stronger writers. You're also going to see students doing some research, graphic organizers, starting to write their own books, learning about the world, and also picking their area of interest in order to pick their topic of what they're most interested in within an area that connects to the essential standard goal. So I just absolutely can't tell you how exciting it is to see how all different teachers approach it in our building. There is uniformity in the fact that they're all covering within their team the essential standards, and they have common sort of summative and formative assessments, and they align with one another. They meet every single week. So if you're on grade level 1, you meet on day 1 for an hour. We get you coverage in the mornings while they all come in and have their breakfast. If you're on the 2nd grade team, it's day 2. Very systematic throughout the year. So we've really attached ourselves tightly to the PLC model that the district has helped us and supported us with. And that's helped to support systems so that we have a really strong curriculum. So no matter which class your child is in, they're getting the same content. However, we do have lots of different creativity, and they share that out. So you will see math everywhere within the building, whether it's in art, whether it's in gym. You'll hear in the phys ed, out of the phys ed teachers' knowledge, you'll hear them talking about geometry, language, and angles, and so on and so forth. You'll see that in the art class, or in music when he's talking about number of beats per measure, and so on and so forth. So the students are learning that deep, rich knowledge and vocabulary throughout their day. We also try to make sure things are hands-on because our kids are little. And if we just do the sit and get that a lot of us had when we were younger, they're not going to get it. Okay, so U-Fly. So that's this book here. And I just want to mention to you, so that's really 8 steps. So it's phonemic awareness, visual drill, auditory drill, blending drill, new concept, word work, irregular words, and connected to text. So in the last portions, which is the 6 through 8 portion, is where students are really connecting it to their writing and their reading. So something else, we just had, it says currently, I think we're supposed to do this last month. So yeah. We had, parent teacher conferences. I think we had several parents come in, and then if there were 1 or 2 parents within each classroom that we weren't able to contact and didn't sign up, then our community school members kind of worked to connect with that family, to do home visits, to make sure that a meeting was set. In addition, we do meetings really throughout the entire year as needs kind of pop up. We'll have the parents come in just to kind of meet with us and have a parent-teacher conference. So even though on the calendar it says that they're in November, truly they can be throughout the year, or, parent request one. So you might know that at the CEA, we benefit a lot from our local colleges. And we have this extraordinary professor from Portland who has managed to bring us a lot of amazing, extraordinary young adults who are going into education and emerging to be teachers. And I'm just going to pass this off to Chris if you wanted to say a couple of things, because you said you just wanted to mention what went on at Math and Science Night.
Math and Science Night, our students built 12 different stations. All the stations were hands-on interactive. Along, we asked the SR
oh, officer, if you would help us out, this was a fingerprinting station. So the children could learn about lookalikes and fingerprints and also go ahead and do the national fingerprinting so that they could have those kind of records at home for them. And so, you know, involving, some of the, you know, safety results that we have. The most popular station was our science stations, the slime and, but then we also had the ProScope station where they actually got to see a gull living inside of a goldenrod, and that little thing was floating around and everything, and the children just absolutely loved it. So, all doing really good, and the students are headed to student teach next semester.
That's wonderful.
The additional piece is that having these additional adults, young adults in the building are more folks for our kids to look up to as leaders, as people that they want to become as they grow up, and also helps diversify the population of who our students are exposed to and the ideas and thoughts they bring in, and they come in so excited. And we've noticed there's just this amazing hum to the building on the days that they're in. You can really feel it.
And I just want to say something, young Ayana right here,
With one, Chris.
right here.
Okay.
Ayana, yeah, she was our student of color. And she had some incidences from children who didn't understand students of color. And she was one brave person and came and talked to Molly and us. And we organized a very large event at the campus. And Molly and Shannon came and spoke and really talking about, we can't be silent. We have to talk about social justice. We have to have everybody be part of that conversation. So trying to change the dynamics at a young age in our building, at the elementary building. And it was very well accepted. And I just appreciate everything that we did together as both a college and an elementary building.
Thank you.
That's great that you didn't just dismiss it.
Yeah, it was last night and it was powerful.
That's
100
wonderful.
120
120
college students. It
Wow, that's great.
was amazing. So we've also got our Veterans Day Assembly, which we have had year after year. It's historical, but I believe that over 50 veterans may have tipped the top of the most that ever have come. It's an extraordinary event to see the children really respect and honor these folks that we all appreciate and really owe a thanks to. Okay, so community-centered events. So last year, and this is one thing I give a nod to the district on, if something comes at the district level that they hear might be an anti-bullying program, an opportunity from Binghamton University, an opportunity from a grant, immediately we get a call from Joanne, Shannon, or Zach, and we get offered an opportunity for our kids to experience folks coming in because of our distance and our buses and how quickly and tight they have to return back to the building in order to get the secondary students back on to get them home. We're very, very lucky to have people coming into our building to expose our children to so many opportunities. So we did have the Harlem Wizards come in. That was super fun and exciting. And it was an anti-bullying education program. Our kids loved it. That was last year in June. We also have many parent events, and we are able to use our arts and ed funds and lots of way that Zach sort of weaves the web to help get us the most we can out of BOCES in having speakers in, events in, you know, dancing opportunities, people who play musical instruments. And then you can see our halls are filled with parents and grandparents that come in for events. And I do want to give a shout out here to our secretarial staff. They're amazing because they put everybody in through their date of birth and their ID in the Raptor system. It's safe. Everybody is tracked. No one can enter without that going in. So we really feel safe about it. And then of course they have Officer Brad there and then Mike and Steve popping over if we need it. So with the parent engagement, of course, Joe's right in the middle there, but you see the littlest baby down at the bottom, to let lots of people helping out and coming in, and just to see those families engaging and meeting each other is amazing.
We just had a recent family engagement event on Friday. So we had our cookies and compassion event. So what that is a child can bring a parent in or a guardian, and they do a half-hour craft, and then they go to the cafeteria for cookies and cocoa. So it was really well attended, and the students like having their families in the building, and then we present it on our TV. So in our TV in the front of the building, there's all the pictures of the students and their families. So they really like seeing that. In addition, so after this event, we have something similar, I think in March or May, correct? So it's the Math and Munchies. So the parents come in and they do math activities with the students. The teachers usually give the parents math activities to do at home to continue the learning. So that's another event that will run similar where students' families can come in.
So whether it's a STEAM event in the summer or Halloween parade, or we're engaging with families with these activities, parents are also learning a little bit by having that modeling. And they're modeling for each other and developing the relationships of how to really play with your child or work with them on a project. I do want to mention one more connection here is bringing folks in that are local to help teach our students. And also, for an example here, we have a student who got a shout out from all of the firemen that came in with fireman Nikki. And it's an extraordinary story. Last spring, we had a student who, with her mom, figured out how to jump out the top floor of their home, and then mom dropped sisters down to her to catch. Just extraordinary.
Was a good story.
And so, Nikki had said to her, "Where did you learn that?" And then she said, "I learned it from you at my school." So pretty extraordinary.
It's amazing.
So they talked about her and celebrated her at our assembly. And I do want to mention in the middle on the top, you'll see there's a woman talking with a puppet next to her, which is common at the CEA. We use puppets to learn for our social emotional curriculum. And that's Heidi McCusker, and she came in from the mental health from Broome County to help us when we had our tragedy last spring. And so we are just very lucky to have a lot of people that reach out, and the fact that they've got relationships built with Whitney Point for so long, and that Joanne knows everyone.
Thank goodness, Joanne.
Just a little bit on this. So MTSS, so that's really the new RTI. Every couple of years, they change the acronym, multi-tiered system of support. And so this is an intervention system. And so all students get tier 1. That's the tier 1 instruction. That's what you do, and we all learn together. Tier 2 is targeted when you pull them to a table, where they have a small guided group, or the teacher is walking around and conferencing. And then tier 3 is often intensive, and then that's that pull out. We have amazing reading teachers, and also thank you to you. We have an academic intervention support teacher this year who's helping us with math.
Wonderful.
Now, the other side of MTSS, of academics, is behavioral. So if we have a student who's struggling, we talk with their families, we talk a lot with Aaron, get some ideas. He's a resource of a lot of knowledge. We meet with the families, we talk with our school psychologists and counselors, and we create a behavior plan. And we did have some kiddos come in this year that really had some struggles because they were really our COVID babies and COVID toddlers. And so they didn't have opportunities of reminders of, hey, when we go into the grocery store, we only put such and such in the cart, or when we go to Toys R Us, remember, we only get one thing. They didn't have those opportunities. They were home. So a lot of that practice did not happen for them. So we use that also as our model for building behavior systems.
So also we have, we're continuing our character ed assemblies every month. We have the Incredible Years curriculum. So we have, we do the work with the puppets where the students learn how to manage their emotions, how to communicate their feelings, and how to make friends. So that happens. So that also happens within the classroom, but then also there's small group dyna, where the community schools members and the PPS staff pull a small group of students together to work on a targeted skill. We also have a little dog named Gizmo, stuffed animal, and it's Gizmo's Guide to Mental Health. And each student got a little Gizmo keychain. And then also we have just several assemblies throughout the year. We demonstrate teamwork. So we have, we try to, as much as possible, we have time for the teachers to work together. But then also we try to create times where the teachers working together in a fun way. So this is just an event that we did, or one of our faculty meetings. They had to use different equipment in the gymnasium to create the taller structure. But then also the teachers work collaboratively every week to kind of review the data and then set their goals for the following week.
Yeah, they had to find the peppermint last week.
Oh, yeah, we did peppermint in your pocket game that went on all day. Yeah, so it started off where 5 people within the building got a peppermint. And whenever you passed someone in the hallway, you were supposed to ask, do you have a peppermint in your pocket? And if they did, you had to get it. And at the end of the day, it was very competitive. The kids got involved and there were winners. That was a lot of
My
fun.
students were very.
There was a very low number of
That's
behaviors and
great.
everyone was learning. So I thought it was a great day. Yeah.
I think that's great.
And a shout out here to the top right, our IT team from BOCE is extraordinary and they help us out with everything. And they installed all these new Promethean boards that our staff are using very closely with UFly. And I don't know if we would have done UFly as well had it not been for these Promethean boards this year.
Oh, good to know.
So professional learning, Eric, I think you mentioned when you talked maybe a year ago about CPI. So I'm the CPI trainer in the district, and I just want to let you know, we just had almost 50 people trained on CPI from all of the buildings, and it was just over November. Joanne and Shannon set it up so that we could have many of the aides from the buildings and also some of the care team and PPS team come. And so we've got a huge number of people now that are certified to help support a kiddo if there's an unsafe situation happening, and then help with the restoring and recovery, and then building a plan to help them feel more regulated later for next steps. So that was super exciting. We did some over the summer. As you can see, they're actively involved on the bottom 2. And then we also have had a lot of ongoing work on our essential standards and our curriculum, activities within the curriculum, and then aligning our assessments. And that's the top right. So just want to mention a couple of things just about the extraordinary opportunity to be in Whitney Point for our kids, because we have these great facilities. We're close to our district office, the CEA is. All 3 buildings are within, this quick moment from each other. Our fields, our space, I worked in places where you go out and play on blacktop where there's chain link fence and 3 balls to fight over. I want you to know our kids are very lucky for the facilities and the space that we have. And we really try to use it creatively, using the fields, using the courtyard, using the playgrounds, and we're very lucky to have it. But to take a kid on a science walk and you see an eagle, this is a real and true picture that was taken last spring. So a lot of hands-on opportunities, and then you've got, of course, Troy Rounds bringing in 40 eggs and they all hatch, right? So there's a lot of science and hands-on opportunities for our kiddos to learn. And then you can see graphic organizers and they're writing about it. So we use all of our spaces, we use them hard, we use them all the time. And so a big shout out to our custodial staff because they work hard and we use the facility hard and they really are amazing. And also we're gonna have our winter assembly soon. That's from last year. Can't wait to have our high schoolers over. So just last shout out to the high schoolers. There's so many of them that come over and they enrich the lives of our little ones and they become role models. And it's extraordinary how they behave like leaders every single time, whether it's for assembly or whether it's to mentor or come over and do an attendance initiative with a kiddo or just to sit and read. And last one, we use every space for learning, and we don't leave any corner out.
I love it.
And that was taken the first day of school.
Oh, that's a great picture.
And I'm gonna have you, if you'd like, ask all the questions about CEA after Lauren gets to go, because she's gonna do pre-K.
All right, so I'll just kind of continue and talk a little bit about the pre-K program. Again, I'm Lauren Prokop. I'm the assistant principal and I'm the early ed coordinator. I also work closely with Mary Hibbard. She is another early ed coordinator part-time. And then Shannon Gillette is our district pre-K administrator. So we have different partners in the community that kind of support us in giving our students the education here. So at the CEA, well, I guess overall we have 6 pre-K 4 classrooms and we have 4 pre-K 3 classrooms. We have 137 students, that's 7 more than last year. There are 57 at our building. Down at the Opportunities for Broome, we have 14 in the pre-K 3 and we have 12 in pre-K 4. And at the preschool and daycare, so we have 41 pre-K 3 students, and then we have 13 students at Saving Grace. Danielle Lethbridge, she is our executive director for Whitney Point Preschool and Daycare. And then we have Amy Gagnon for the Head Start. So what does the pre-K day look like? So they come in every morning and the first thing they do before breakfast is they have tabletop toys. So they pick just kind of interconnecting manipulatives, and those kind of work on their small muscles and their hand-eye coordination, and it's really good for pre-writing skills. So they do that first, they play with these fine motor materials, then they wash up for breakfast. Something we talk about a lot, Mary and I, is that breakfast and lunch are instructional parts of the day in pre-K. It's a really important time just to have a language-rich environment and to have those conversations with the students. So then after that, they usually go for carpet time, where we have, it's created curriculum through teaching strategies. So it's separated into different thematic units for all pre-K classes. So for example, some units are light, signs, boxes, pets, exercise, and the students just kind of focus on what does that mean? What does that look like? And then the teachers incorporate it into their learning centers as well. So the studies address language and literacy, math, science, physical skills, and social emotional skills. So after that part of the day, after story time, there's a daily question of the day. They do calendar every day and they count out. They do the days of the week and the months of the year. So then the students move to learning centers. So there are several learning centers or play centers throughout each classroom. So there's blocks, there's dramatic play, there's art, and I'm very passionate about this, that it's not just go play, right? It's very, very intentional play. We have lots of conversation about how do we incorporate literacy and math into the students' play and make them have a really fun time doing it. So if you go into any of the pre-K classes, you'll see the aides kind of with the students at the play centers. So Amanda Collier is one, and I just saw her, she was counting, they were making ice cream cones out of sand, and they had to do 1, 2, 3. So there's just a lot of literacy and numeracy within the play centers as well. And then there's movement infused throughout the day, both indoors and outdoors. And then, you know, they practice their skills. We have the little bikes, so they ride their bikes around. And then we have the gross motor room as well. So as you can see, just by the pictures on the side, whatever that unit of study is, the teachers try to incorporate that into their play center. So when the unit of study was blocks, they made, the students made a car. The students made a car, and then when the unit was light, one teacher had like a really nice like light pattern on the floor for students to investigate, and that's something from Rochelle Lawrence's classroom. So something else that is like super important, I'm very passionate about play, but I'm also passionate about just making sure that all of our classrooms are getting the equal education, right? So if our students at the CEA and their pre-K 4, we want the students at Saving Grace and we want the students, our pre-K 4 students at Head Start, to have the same opportunities regardless of what site they're at. So this is something, we have an Office of Early Learning Liaison. This is something she really prides our district in, is just our collaboration and the consistency between all sites. So all 10 classrooms, all of the parents, they go to the same pre-K parent information night, and they receive the same pre-K handbook for all families. Any event that we have at the CEA, they're also having down at Saving Grace and the daycare. So like we said, we just had our cookies and compassion. The off-sites had something in the afternoon on that same date, and that goes for all of the parent engagement events. So really, the students are kind of getting those same experiences and the families as well. So there's the consistent curriculum. So we use the creative curriculum in all of the classrooms. And then we also use the same screening tools. So the students are screened using the dial at the beginning of the year. And then throughout the year, 3 times a year, they get the TS Gold. So what that is just kind of different, I want to say, domains. So where's the student in physical development, where's the student in language, and where's the student in literacy? And then it's just a progression of this is where a student should be at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. And the teachers have to take a pretty long inter-rater reliability test to make sure that if I see one student, we're all going to say that this student is demonstrating skills of a 3-year-old. So lesson plan, okay, so the teachers meet weekly. So all 10 teachers meet weekly. This is facilitated by me, Mary, and Tracy Pfeiffer. She is our department chair for all of pre-K. So they meet weekly to lesson plan and share practices. Again, we plan the parent engagement events. They participate in peer visits. So what they do is they visit each other's classrooms. Something really important in pre-K is what does the environment look like? So they go into each other's classrooms to kind of get ideas and make sure that the teacher has everything that they need to have within their classroom. We review assessment data. We review the results from a parent survey. So 3 times each year, we give the families a survey just basically on how's it going, right? So at the beginning of the year, the survey is, did you attend pre-K parent information night? Did you attend the screening week? What can we do better to make it an easier transition at the beginning of the year? So then what we do is the teachers kind of create one goal. So this is what the parent said, and this is what we want to do better. And then at the end of the year, we do that same exact thing where we kind of leave it open-ended. So what went really well, what area can be improved, and then we try to set goals. And then that is from Tracy Pfeiffer. We share a calendar with all of the teachers, just so the teachers know kind of what's coming. And that's just one way we keep it consistent across all sites. So the teachers, their evaluations for all sites have started. So this is another area that our liaison with the state has really felt like Whitney Point excels with, is that all 10 of our teachers are receiving the same evaluation tool. And then we use that evaluation tool to kind of see what trends are happening in the program and where is more professional development needed. So the first one is the classroom assessment scoring system. This is called CLASS. This is takes about 2.5 hours to complete. So we're in the rooms for quite a chunk of time. But it's really important to be in the rooms for that chunk of time just to really see the routines. So that focuses on 3 domains. So there's the emotional domain, organizational domain, and the instructional domain. So really that is the environment really positive? Is it organized? And then is it focused on higher order thinking? And then the next one is the early childhood environment, but it's okay. Early childhood environment rating scale. So this is called ECHRS. There's 6 different subsets and 35 items. So this one takes 3 hours for Mary and I to complete.
I hate learning this. Wow, so it's a big one, huh?
Yeah, so first we kind of look at the space and furnishings and the personal care routines. And then we look at the language and literacy, the learning activities, the interactions, and the program structure. So ECHRS focuses on 2 things. So one, it focuses on the materials in the classroom. And then also, how are the teachers using those materials? So some professional learning over the summer, we did a deep dive into ECHRS. So this was a 2-day training where the teachers each picked a different learning activity and kind of taught their peers about it. The pyramid model training, that just kind of focuses more on the environment. That's done by Mary Hibbard. We've had Gail Tillotson present to our teachers and to our aides on speech and language strategies that teachers can use. And she calls it like filling the language bucket. So how do we create these really rich language classrooms, right? So that way our students can learn more words, And then something else that we started this year is classroom aid training from all of the aides across all of the sites, just so they know what their role is in ECHRS, because they're very, very critical in a pre-K classroom. They really influence the students' development. So we just wanted to, let them know what they can do to enhance the students' learning. So just some things about what's next for our program. So like I said, we had a state visit at the end of last year. So we did fairly well, but some of our feedback was to ensure any long-term substitutes attend professional development with our teachers. So there were some long-term subs that were there for 6 weeks. And if they attended our weekly meetings, but however, like, how do we catch them up on all of the information that the teachers know, or how do we select what's most critical? Other feedback that they gave us was to have a consistent alphabet linking chart. So what that is it's one of those, an alphabet chart: A, apple; B, bear; C, cat. So what she noticed was that in each pre-K classroom, there was a different alphabet linking chart. So she wants the students to see the same alphabet chart from pre-K 3 to pre-K 4 and then up to kindergarten. So that way, one doesn't say A, airplane; B, ball, and then the other one says apple, bear, And then the supplemental literacy program. You have it, UFly. So UFly is our new phonics program for K through 3, and it starts in kindergarten. However, she said, how are we going to supplement that appropriately in pre-K now? So they did fonts and Pinnell. There were some fonts and Pinnell curriculums for pre-K. So now she kind of wants us to look at different supplemental literacy programs, in addition to creative curriculum. Alrighty. That's about it. I have more. So just some kind of really neat things that are happening in our program. So on the bottom left, that is from the state, actually, kind of using our district and the different things that we do as an example of, how to run a pre-K program and then how to collaborate with the other businesses. On the right, so this is the Office of Early Learning with the state. There's going to be a couple of webinars on pre-K. We will be presenting at Collaboration and U-Pre-K. Yeah, thanks. And then on the bottom, May 2nd in Albany is UPK Day. And they also asked us to go present on the panel, just to give districts ideas on, how to run a pre-K program.
So they were it sounds like they were very impressed with how you guys run
Our program. It's one of the state is the, regard. So they give us this feedback, that's nothing. They have to say something.
This is
They're-
nothing, right?
Yeah, and just so you know, as board members, it is truly,
I heard that. It's just good to have the documentation to support it. It's phenomenal.
Our university professors are extremely impressed on what we do.
That's wonderful. It's great news.
and they come and evaluate every year, because these are competitive grants, these that we got. and
Yep.
So as part of that, you have to have completely, there's a really huge rubric that we have to fill out, and they come and they evaluate us every time. Our teachers have gone and presented before COVID too at conferences. And, they've often, they've asked us if they could have people come and visit here, and so, yeah, I mean, it's something for you guys to be proud of.
Absolutely.
I just real quick, I know I mentioned this a lot of times. I know when other people come in and go, well, this school does this, does that, and I've said forever, we definitely shine not only in our area, but across. This is something that I don't know that our community is really can appreciate as much how wonderful this stuff is done there. I mean, it's amazing. It is really amazing.
Yes.
How many preschool teachers do we have?
10.
And how many aides?
There are, well, in each pre-K classroom, there is a classroom aide. So there's 10, and then one-on-one aides, we have about 3. So I think we ever have around 13 to 14 aides.
And we use pre-K rooms from Portland a lot because
You use,
we put our students in those rooms a lot.
oh, gotcha. I know they are very grateful to have all those Portland students here.
Well, when I placed my students, some of my students were like, I don't want to be in pre-K, and then because they have a very negative image about pre-K, because they've been in other districts where it's like half day, or it's not run like a classroom. And when they see how we run, they're like, this is like real school.
Yeah, that's great. So you even got feedback from the students because they've been to other
Oh, yeah.
school districts to see how they run it?
Yep.
Wow, that's great.
Pre-K's the best.
How could you not like pre-K? Well, ladies, Lauren, Molly, phenomenal job. I mean, I love hearing all of the great things that are going on because unfortunately, usually at board meetings, we hear a lot of the negativity. So I do appreciate you taking the time. And I just want to thank both of you because all you did, Molly, was give accolades to your entire team. I would like to give accolades to both of you because it takes leaders to get to this point too. And just a phenomenal job. And I love to see the creativity that goes into learning. And I wish I was little to go back to go to those programs because they didn't have that when I went to school here. I mean, I graduated in '94. We didn't have those programs. So just, keep up the great work and phenomenal job. And I would love to come in and I know we talked probably after the school, after Christmas, just come in and just witness what goes on in one of the classrooms would be amazing. So thank you.
Any one of you or all of you.
Yeah.
And,
I just think it would be wonderful just to actually see it live. I mean, Chris is fortunate enough, she gets to see it all the time because of what she does for a living. But I think it would be wonderful to see that, and I want to just thank you both for all the work that you do. It certainly does not go unnoticed.
thank you.
I'd like to say, wow. The principals in the other schools, you really have upped the bar for the expectation from the students of how they are instructed and how they learn. So it's, I mean, as entry level students, the students also have a high expectation that you've instilled in them, which is great. And I know our staff keeps up with their expectations in every school. So it's just a little humor of what's coming their way. So thank you guys, and thanks for keeping up with them in the other schools.
Tom, you probably already seen that, haven't you? No, that's pretty cool.
The fact that it's free.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, ladies.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Email us if you'd like to
Yeah.
come in.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tiana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We're gonna go to the addenda for the first item on there. Approve the unpaid leave of absence of Samantha Delakovic, LPN, effective March 27th and 28th, 2024. May I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, second.
Okay, I have Tiana and Chris. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, appointments on the agenda. The appointment of Brianna Chestnut, part-time teacher's aide, effective December 13th, 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? And back to the addenda to finish it up. Approve the appointment of Linda Randall, bus monitor, subject to fingerprint clearance. Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Tiana. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Thank you. Approve the substitute rate of pay schedule effective December 31st, 2023. Aid substitute, minimum hourly wage as per New York State law. Daily non-certified teacher substitute, $100 per day for 7 hours. Daily certified teacher substitute, $120 per day for 7 hours. long-term certified teacher substitute, $165 per day for 7.5 hours. LPN substitute, $17.50 an hour. Up to 89 days in the same assignment, no retroactive pay for previously daily work, no benefits. Term certified teacher substitutes, salary and benefits per teachers association contract, finite period of time equal to semester or more in duration, no retroactive pay for previous daily or long-term work. Substitute teachers working a half day, half the hours of a full day substitute will receive half the pay rate for the appropriate substitute category. May I have a motion? So moved. Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Tiana. Any questions or comments?
Yes, When was the last time this was changed?
It's changed every year, and the only change right now is the bold because of minimum wage. Basically, we had to increase it to be above minimum wage for that.
So right now, non-certified teacher substitute, it boils down to $14.29 an hour.
It's a little deceiving. It's 7 hours because that's what they're actually here for. They get a half hour unpaid lunch. So you're paid for 6 hours.
Yeah, and most of the time when you're a sub, you need to come in early anyways and read through all the paperwork, so, I just think it's a disgrace to pay that little to our subs. And the same way with aides, $14.20, so essentially, you know, not much difference there. Certified $17.15 an hour, it's pitiful, and, I thought that the change in the minimum wage was happening in January to $15, so this is still below, but, no,
It's
with
not.
with half hour lunch, it bumps it. Yeah,
I
so
think-
there's no way we can increase this.
Again, at this point, that's what that rate is. It's only because of minimum wage that rate has to be increased for January.
So that's the only reason.
The minimum wage impacted 156 other employees in the school. So it's a huge undertaking to keep up with that.
I think it should be forced. I mean, when the kids in high school get paid $15 at McDonald's after school. Yeah, there's huge responsibility on teachers, you know, substitutes. Yeah, so.
Zach, do you happen to know,
Sorry, I don't think any of us disagree with you.
Yeah.
But right now, our budget can't handle it, so, and we did up this a few years ago, and we are at least closely competitive.
That's what I was just gonna ask, with the districts of our size, to be clear. And I think we all agree, Molly, it's just not enough, but we don't have the funding to support the increase, but we're about on target with other districts of our size with this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's relative. If you
Well-
see how this has increased in the last 5 years, we've grown immensely, right? Because where we were at 5 years ago was completely not far.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, again, minimum wage has been a New York State mandate that we're meeting, but it has a significant impact on school budget.
Not that
If we rate, but it doesn't necessarily mean we have to raise everyone's pay. If we increase the substitute pay, I mean, we raise the bus driver pay. Correct, to attract more people. I'm just saying, since we have such a shortage,
But even districts that are paying more for subs can't attract enough subs.
So I was gonna ask, so what is this relative to some of our neighbors? Is it,
It depends on, so if you're comparing us to Margaretville deposit, districts our size, and yeah. Yeah, our neighbors to the one, or if you're comparing us to Vestal.
oh, no,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, so Vestal, they pay considerably more, you know. I mean, it's a discussion we'll continue to have. I mean, it's not that we're not aware, but compared to districts our size, we're. I mean, if districts are, you know, you have a fixed budget and like someone minimum wage goes up and I don't disagree with you, but I think what you're saying.
Right.
But it's, we have so many employees, so it's a big hit that you have to plan for whenever you make a change.
So I guess the other
Mid-year.
question, so the other question is, we have a hard time attracting teachers. Do we fill our substitutes at these rates, or are we finding that they're just going other places because that's what they're paid for?
For teachers or for substitutes?
For the list of these substitutes, I mean, are we,
I mean, and the thing about substitute rates, because there are so many other options of districts in the area, right? So in order to attract someone from the Binghamton area to come to Whitney Point to want to teach, they're gonna be, they really want to come here for a pre-K type of program. But in reality, they're gonna go to wherever's paying the highest in that area that's closest to where they live. And it's kind of how it works. So then you're kind of splitting hairs of, well, what's the price point where we want to pay our sub rates so much more than everyone else that we're gonna draw substitutes from the Binghamton area? And that's kind of, most of our subs are local people, so that's kind of who we attract.
but I'm just saying, I know going back, and it was probably a ways back, I mean, we really got what we paid for. We had horrendous substitutes. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't even,
And we were not in a ballpark.
oh, no, I know we
Yeah.
weren't, but I mean, it's still,
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to lose good subs in our area because they're traveling to Binghamton. We want to keep them here.
right.
And that's what I think what these rates do at this point in time.
All right, I just, I guess I have to echo, I know that over history that the district has shown a lot of respect to all employees. I just, the second tier employees is where it gets to be. I mean, the people that always get considered is the lower end of the bunch, and this is.
So the age should be.
Well,
I just looked up the average substitute rate for Binghamton Central School District. It says $125.
Thank you.
For certified.
Yeah.
So that's,
So it's at least, we're comparable, like we have certified teacher subs at 120, right? Chris, is that what you're saying? So it's not enough, Molly, I agree with you, but with the but there, we're in line with what our schools are doing, and we just don't have the budget to support it.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, do we raise taxes? That's the only way to.
and just to add to the picture, I mean, some of it is deceiving, so when you say, for example, I mean, and substitutes are different, but like how much our aides make, which is, you're right, they don't make very much for the work they do, but. And, again, I'm not saying any of this is right, but you don't get a benefit package at McDonald's.
They also get a really
And a
good
retirement system and all of the other things, so people make those choices because they have a schedule like their kids, they, have all of those things that you don't get in some of the other places. I mean, I'm not saying it's a living wage, I'm not at all saying that, but,
They do
Some
get
of
the
our
benefits,
aides
the benefits.
take a position so they get the health
Just the
insurance.
benefits.
because the health insurance is
Not that it's.
a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, health
Yeah.
insurance
You
is
can get a family health insurance, a lot of people actually work for that reason.
Well, that's what I was looking for, is
Yeah.
the whole, like,
Yeah.
how does this compare? What is going on? Because I don't know. I mean, to me, you could say
So, yeah.
whatever, and I would not know if this is good or bad compared to other places. I know where we come from. I just was wondering if we have a lot of trouble filling it at these rates. So thank you for the information. That makes a lot clearer.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? I'm sorry?
We got a nay here.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Molly.
That's okay.
Don't worry, Molly, I heard you and I spoke up.
Approve the extra classroom corrective action plan addressing the June 30th, 2023 extra classroom audit report. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tiana. Any questions or comments? I think that the extra classroom report is always going to be affected by the fact that some of those expenses continue going through throughout the summer when there aren't students here, because one of the biggest things we get dinged on is that things aren't signed by the student, but they're not here, but you still have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I can tell you that there are much better controls than there used to be. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We acknowledge the receipt of the 2023 Office of the State Comptroller Fiscal Stress Monitoring Report. We received a score of 10%, which corresponds to the no designation stress level, which is a good place to be.
And there's no need for a vote, but thank you.
Yes.
That's something that definitely has also improved over the years. And I really appreciate that we're not stressed, and I really appreciate
We're
the
not
fiscal
stressed.
management.
Literally, you use the word stress.
Okay, we're not, yeah.
Thank you.
No, and that's been a tough thing, so I do
Yeah.
appreciate that very much, because we weren't always in this good of a position, so thank you to everybody involved to get us to that point. It's always good to have that designation. None.
Yes, well done.
Okay, accept the donation of a $100 gift card from Wegmans to the Whitney Point Community Schools program to be used for supplies and snacks for students in need. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Thank you, Eric.
Just a quick question, is it 75 and over? What's the number?
That's for like a gift, for like an employee.
Oh, an employee, okay.
This is to be used for school.
Gotcha, okay. Cause I was trying to remember, like, so you can give gifts as long as it's not over $75.
To an employee,
To an
yeah.
employee.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Not to a school district.
No, I know, I'm just talking, I'm just asking a question in
Yeah,
general.
like
Okay,
say, the architect company couldn't give me a $100 gift card.
right, okay.
Yeah.
But they
Gotcha.
can give you one for $74, you know, gladly.
And 99
There
cents.
you go.
That's what I was gonna ask, just like that, I was just reading the gift policy and I just wanted to ask that question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Accept the very generous donation of $20,000 from Mr. I'm sorry?
It's us.
Oh, okay.
Nekwidowich.
Mr. David Nekwadowicz.
Yep.
To the athletic department to be equally distributed to the following sports: varsity girls field hockey, varsity girls basketball, varsity girls lacrosse, and varsity boys basketball. May I have a motion? Oh, thank you, Chris. And a second?
Second,
Thank you, Tiana.
amazing,
Very beyond generous donation.
good man.
Yeah,
Yep.
Murphy brought it in and we opened it up together and we both were like blown away by the amount. So Murphy is working with him on his wishes and we'll get it spent where he should agree.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great gift.
Because, while we can't accept donations with strings attached, you certainly do want to respect their vision of
Yep.
how it can benefit
Agreed.
those teams. So,
Very nice.
any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Authorization to unseal an open ballot box and destroy ballots from the May 17th, 2022 budget vote, school vehicle vote, repair reserve fund vote, and Board of Education election. Be it resolved pursuant to Education Law 20346B that at least 1 year has elapsed since the budget vote, school vehicle vote, repair reserve fund vote, and Board of Education election, and upon information and belief of the Board of Education, there has been no challenge or proceeding commenced, and as such, the Board of Education of the Whitney Point Central School District does and hereby authorizes the district clerk to unseal and open the wooden ballot box and destroy the official ballots contained therein, together with the unused ballots, if any. May I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead.
Chris
I have
and-
Tiana and Chris.
Yeah.
We'll switch it up. I do have a question where we're authorizing this, but it's not going to happen until May that they do it, because it says that at least 1 year has elapsed.
So this is from the May 22 vote,
Yeah, we've already had.
so it's been.
Thank you.
I wanted to wait.
And that's
until-
why I asked, because
That's why I said this was the year.
Yeah. so
Yeah.
Because
I
this was
gave
the
it
year that we had all the
over a
problems.
whole year. since
That was the year we had all
recount.
the problems.
yes, okay,
Wasn't
thank
it?
you.
Because
We're-
normally it goes in June, but.
That was
Something,
the year.
something wasn't making sense to me, but I didn't know what. So thank you.
And we won't be doing this anymore, right? Because of all the electronic ballots, or do you?
They still need to be authorized to be destroyed.
Okay.
Because they have the
The
actual
actual
ballots.
ballots, yeah.
With the physical,
Have them pulled them.
Yeah, okay.
But they'll bring them back here for.
Okay, thanks.
Stacy, we're still good with when it went up for review, right? There's no stricter requirements to, when we got the authorization for the recount. There's nothing that says we had to keep them for a little bit longer or anything, that 1 year is still good to go. or-
No, and actually the 1 year since May would have been okay, but I just wanted to give it
A little bit more
at least a
time.
full year
Yeah.
since the recount.
Yep, makes sense.
gotcha. Any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Social media litigation. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Whitney Point Central School District Superintendent that the retainer agreement with the law offices of Napoli Shponik PLLC, 360 Lexington Avenue, 11th floor, New York, New York, and Coughlin and Gerhart LLP, 99 Corporate Drive, Binghamton, New York, authorize the commencement of litigation against Meta, Google, Snapchat, TikTok, and/or other similar social media entities at no additional cost to the Whitney Point Central School District, commencing immediately, be and is hereby approved. May I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Tiana. And a question, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments?
You did a good job with that name.
Yeah.
Pronouncing.
I think I basically made it up. Although it's not as bad as Chiashi,
Yeah.
Peter Hagen, yeah. CDLM, I got used to doing that. Any other? Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Superintendent's update.
One, I wanted to just note, please look at the beautiful artwork there. So we didn't get to see the music tonight, but we do get to look at some very talented young artists. I also just want to take a moment to recognize the loss of a great man. So sad. I've been so sad. So he worked the district from 1987 to 2007, although he really actually worked after that as a consultant. When Terry Dean took over his job, he then of course became a board member also. But, for so many people, for me, actually in particular, one of my first days working here, Eddie would take me aside and give me his words of wisdom for the day. Things and I don't think there are many days went by when he didn't do something like that. He was just an amazing man, who, he was an amazing coworker, friend, an uncle to many, a father to many, a grandfather to many, many, an incredible reverend to the community. I'm so thankful for all the years that I've known him. He, never stopped learning and he never stopped loving, and some of the things that he would tell me would be that always keep your heart open. And, I'm just so impacted, and I think so many other people are. So we will miss him. I know he's in a better place. And I thank him for all his years of service to the district.
Yes, absolutely.
So on a completely different note, I just wanted to let you know that we were made aware, and actually Molly was present at this meeting, that we were made aware that the Medicare Advantage plan that we purchased a few years ago, you may remember 3 years ago, was that actually? we and many districts moved to, our retirees to a Medicaid Advantage plan. And you may know that when you hit, Medicare, age, before this, we were still paying the full amount for a full plan, even though that became your secondary plan. So, and it's a huge expense to districts. So we moved to a Medicare Advantage plan, which was a great savings for the districts and for the employees, because they pay a percentage in their retirement also. And for the most part, it's gone really well, and it was a pretty smooth transition. But what we've discovered is that essentially we went with the Excelis plan because that's what our regular plan is. And it was most comfortable for people. But what really happened was they way underbid to get our consortium. And they notified us that we would be getting a 50% rate increase as early as January 1st. And then, but that was really not sufficient, and that there would likely be another 50% right after that. What? So that's not just to us, a huge, I mean, unbelievable increase, but also to our retirees and to jump it back up. So our consortium has decided to move to Humana.
Okay, so you can get out of this.
Yeah, so you want to speak to the?
I'm sorry.
Timeline, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So, again, about Humana, they're not just some rinky-dink operation. They're the biggest player in the Medicare supplemental plan
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing. And
Okay.
they've also been around for a very long time and have very, nominal rate increases year to year. So they price the products accordingly, right? That was kind of rocket science to that. So it's actually gonna be, again, because the only way we can even change plans is to have benefits that meet or exceed the current offerings. Of course, Humana has a couple more bells and whistles that make it meets that and it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's how we could do it. We're gonna continue because we don't wanna spring this on our retirees, obviously, because they're still our employees. Or we're employees and obviously we value them. So we're gonna continue with that plan with that rate increase for the next 6 months, and we will look in that and during that transition to get all the information we can from Humana. We're gonna invite them in. We'll have the townhouses with the retirees like we did 3 years ago. We'll do Zooms, whatever we need to do to talk to everyone. We'll mail them materials, but we'll look to make the change effective July 1. The rates still go up, but nowhere near what they would have been through Excelis. So that's currently where we're at, but we're obviously, we heard this at our meeting a few weeks ago. There's been a lot of running around trying to scramble through a plan. This is definitely the best plan out there. And again, I think after this meeting, we're gonna mail out those initial letters to all the retirees, let them know. But again, we'll be here to support them throughout the process.
So when does that first 50% increase happen? Is it immediately?
Starts January
Oh,
1st.
so that's January 1st. So you're gonna send a communication out to let everyone know. And then your plan is July 1st, 2024
Mhm.
to go to Humana?
Correct.
Okay, so are you letting them know that too? So you're not like scaring them that?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's gonna be a very, kind of, I think, a letter that's been approved by a lot of people. It's kind of explaining the situation,
Okay.
why we're making the move.
Okay,
And again, that Humana is a good,
top of the
reliable
line,
company.
yeah,
And they even guaranteed our rate increase for the following year to be capped at 2.5%.
perfect.
Yeah.
So I hope that everyone knows that this is not something you guys overlooked.
Yeah.
Well, it was presented to you. Clearly, they were not clear in their overall costs.
I think Excelis at the time was trying to get into that market. And sometimes they take those things at a loss. But I think they even underestimated how much it was really gonna cost to offer that type of plan.
Yeah, oh,
Do you have a feeling of, like, what it's going to cost with the 250% increases compared to what Humana might be? Will it be comparable? Will it be about the same rate after the 250% increases, or?
So right now, the retirees pay about, the plan cost, the district, $290 a month.
Okay.
Retirees all play a variety of that, anywhere from free to 25%. Excel was proposing a $435 jump, which was significant. And then again, the following year,
So an
they
increase of 400, not going up
to
to
go
400.
to 400.
Oh, okay.
Long-term Excel's wanted to be around $738. That's what they told us.
Terrible.
So Humana, they came in, they're gonna be around $364 with that 2.5% rate increase the year after. And historically, Humana's been looking at around a 4 to 5% increase a year.
And actually districts who have used Humana are super, very happy.
Yes.
They've been saying-
Basically, we've had a great offering for 3 years. It was underpriced. We're gonna still have a great offering, but it's gonna be more accurately priced under Humana.
And we should see the big, huge jumps that
Correct.
Excelis will probably continue to
Yep.
do. Okay.
That's terrible.
So that is gonna be a hit to the district.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just,
Well, it's the best case scenario, no matter what.
no, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that isn't just on the employees,
Yes.
a lot of that is gonna be us.
Well, again, we made the change. We had substantial savings for about 3 years.
So I remember that.
Yeah.
It was
We're
amazing.
still going to have savings, just nowhere near as much as they were.
Because I don't think people realize that, like, in the way it was before, in retirement, you're still paying the full insurance amount, even though it's really only become your secondary, you know what I mean? So it was.
That's
Even not- yeah,
That's very
oh,
expensive for
yeah.
retirees,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
on a fixed income,
And it's only gonna get worse because all of us are getting older.
right?
There's that big
And
bunch
there's-
coming through.
There's no option of, you wouldn't feel comfortable moving to Humana as of
They
January first.
initially proposed a shorter term, but, we actually, when you points spoke up that our retirees are very happy with this plan. It is gonna be a shock to them, even though eventually long term, it'll be a better move. Again, 3 years ago, when I went through this process, it was painstakingly slow,
I
a lot of
remember.
phone calls, a lot of communication.
And the comfort was that it was something they knew, which was
Excellus.
Excellus, so that's why, I mean.
People do not.
Gotcha.
You wouldn't have throws at him, let's say, oh, by the way, next week, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have completely, I mean, then you know what it's like navigating through a new insurance
Oh, yeah.
company.
So Zach, if we require the retirees to pay, let's say 25%, it's gonna jump from 290 to 435 effective 1/1/2024. So there'll be a hit financially on the district, whatever that number is, depending on what they're required to pay. And we have the funding to support that, and the plan is just for the 6 months to do that until the Humana would be
Correct.
available, okay?
Correct.
So we don't plan on ever getting to the 700 and something that Excelis eventually is proposing.
Correct. Basically, it's almost Excel is saying they want out.
Okay.
Price it high enough and nobody will want it, and then they can discontinue.
Basically, I mean, Molly, you were at that meeting. I asked a lot of hard questions.
Yeah.
He
he
was
did.
very
Molly put
informative.
Very, he was very detailed.
Good job, Zach.
Well, it is a pain for everyone involved. It just is. It's the last thing I want to do right now, but, we'll get our retirees where they need to be. That's what we care.
Well, healthcare, that's a lot of the reason why people go into the field, work for the state, so they can get that great healthcare when they retire.
And it is a nightmare when you have to switch stuff over because it is not easy and all the oh my gosh.
Doctors and who participates and, yeah. Well, thank you for taking swift action on that because that's something that's gonna impact a lot of people.
Yep.
So,
So, thank you.
And
Yeah.
asking all the tough questions and
yeah,
thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
You do a good balance between making sure we stay on budget, but also making sure that the district has what it needs.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm confident the Humana fringe benefits are going to be very enticing to the retirees. Once they see the additionals, I'm very familiar with it.
oh, good.
They're gonna say, okay, this is a no-brainer. So I think that's gonna help soften the transition.
And we were told basically Humana is like the Medicare network. Anyone that takes Medicare.
heard of
takes
that.
Humana.
Oh,
Worked
great,
out
that's
with
not
that
the one I.
It didn't work out.
I want Humana when I retire, Zach,
Yeah.
okay?
Probably.
What are you, tier 12?
Thank you, Joanna, for bringing that up.
Thank you. Do you have,
That's it for me.
that's it for you? Okay, that brings us to our second opportunity for comments from the public. I don't need to read the intro again because I'm sure you all remember what I said earlier. That being said, is there anybody who would like to speak up at this point? Okay, Board of Education comments. Who would like to start this evening?
Well, I always start, so we should start with time and go around. I always have enough to say.
Comment from me? I need to get home because my boiler's leaking, so.
All right, we'll
whatever
zip,
We gotta do.
we'll zip through it, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Eric?
No, I'm only good, just in regards to the first set of public comments, because I know he would do this to me. Mr. Walsh, you forgot the H on your name in your handout.
Thank you,
sir.
Oh, nay.
That's how they do it. I'm like, okay,
So,
You are
I would expect it from
terrible.
you.
He was in a hurry.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm
Now I
very,
can't comment. 'cause there's no point.
I didn't miss everything. Other than that, I am all set, thank you.
I would like to bring up, possibly looking at our, cell phone policy again within the school. I think I've said before how I feel. I know it's not a popular opinion,
Can you
but
tell us how you feel again, so
how I feel is that I don't agree with having the cell phones in the school with the students. I think causes a lot of issues. And I was told of an incident, I'm not naming any names at all, of a bullying incident that happened, and it was reported by cell phones. And I think that it just it's just another way that cell phones exacerbate the problems within the school, especially with bullying. It's out there forever on the internet. So not only is the child bullied during school, but now this person is humiliated, and that just makes it all the worse. So I just think that's another reason. So let's look at, again, our cell phone policy for the schools.
So, it's something certainly we talk about at the building level, I mean, we made some changes, and we've actually had some conversations about like making a mid-year change, and I think that certainly at the end of the school year, I know that you're not gonna believe this, but a lot of people don't agree, and, are adamant that their kids should have phones.
No, I believe.
So it would
yeah.
have to be, we would have to decide that that's actually gonna be the policy, and it's gonna have to be a big information campaign, and say this is the way it's gonna be the start of school, you're gonna have to get on board, and if you need to reach your child, then you call the office like we did in the old days, that kind of thing, so.
What have other
Yeah,
school
I think so.
districts done? They're all, they have probably a policy where, like, similar to ours, but they haven't like cut it 100%. Do you know of any?
There are.
Well, there's some like
They-
in the
they-
nation, there are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just asking, because
There
I
are
really
Been
don't
really
know.
positive.
Okay, I'm sure. Yeah, okay.
Students just use their watches.
If they have one, yeah, to do the.
And
Yeah.
well, then maybe we have a policy for that too.
I mean, I know that we want to stop it, and I agree and I disagree, but they can use so many things, it's not funny, so the recording piece, I think, is still gonna happen, whether you tell them to hide the phone, it's still gonna happen. They can record something with their, but they can, I mean, that's not gonna stop, I think that.
I think it would reduce it.
Yeah, I
And
agree,
among a lot
yes.
of other problems too.
Yes.
Constant distraction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we look at the cell phone policy to?
So it's all, so currently.
We have it in place, and I don't know if it's always followed 100%, the one that we do have in place where the kids are supposed to either have it in their locker, correct? Or in their backpack, they're not supposed to have, can you help me?
So in the TRA.
Okay, I know it's
If they're
different.
supposed to put it in their locker.
Okay.
And they can't take it out, but they have time during lunch when they can have it,
Okay,
which may be something that needs to be changed.
okay,
Right, that's one of the things that we talked about, and then they get it at the end of the day, out of their locker. In the high school, it's supposed to just be away during instructional time, not have it out at all.
so they could technically have it in their pocket, but we're saying
And
don't
in
have it
between
out.
Classes.
like
they can
this.
then, so those
It's
are the things, and,
unenforceable.
right, and so, but then there's also, I'm not saying that I I mean, I personally wish they didn't exist at all either, but then there's the bus, you know, and because a lot of issues happen on the bus.
Yeah.
And so even if we like take them at the door the whole way,
But anything is better, to me,
Yeah.
anything is better.
I would
Like
like,
control what we can control, I think.
I would like to see, Molly does bring up a valid point, and that's probably extreme. It would be possibly for us to look at our policy and, you know, maybe push to enforce it more. Cause I'm not sure it's really truly being enforced, the
But
way
it's
we would.
hardly possible.
Well,
I mean, the
what I mean
teachers-
by that, if there's a policy in place and the teachers are seeing that, you know, we'll use the high school, for example, that students do have well, let's use the TRA because that's probably a better scenario. And the kids they do have their cell phone out when they're not supposed to, put some better protocols in place of the discipline as it relates to that, to kind of reinforce that policy. Where, again, I'm just using that as an example. Is that a possibility?
I mean, Amanda, so compared to last year,
Compared to last year, it's so much better. Because kids aren't really getting it out in the middle of class, which was one of our biggest issues. Because we have it's kind of like a strike system, so every month, teachers are filling out this like Excel spreadsheet. And if you see a kid on their phone, like, it's not supposed to be in the hallways, not supposed to be out in class, that kind of thing, you can only use it at lunchtime. So if you catch a kid in the hallway during a time, teachers, aides, whoever, fill out the sheet. We discuss that, we've had to take cell phones, like, first time's a warning, second time we call home, third time we take it for 10 days and you put it in the office when you come in. And then you get to you know what I mean, go to class or whatever, and then you can collect it at the end of the day.
So is this taking a lot of time?
Oh, I'm
and-
sure
And
it is.
energy and effort
Yes.
to control all of this?
Yes, it does. And, you know, we're not shaking kids down, so we tell them to put it in their locker, right? If we catch them or whatever, they're putting it into their locker, we'll walk them to there, but you know, there could be in their pockets or something, we're not, you know what I mean?
Okay, that's good to know.
It's more but the classroom aspect of it, I think has gotten so much better because kids aren't just bringing it out and saying, hey, put your phone away, put your phone away. So that part is better.
That is good to hear. So there is improvement, but we still have some issues, I hear.
and it's still, I mean, it is definitely under discussion. Like, so what's, you know,
Sure.
how much is it interfering, what are the issues are, you know, and then what would it look like if we made a next step change?
Mhm.
But again, it's gonna take like communication because, I mean, you can't imagine how people feel very strongly.
We know, Joanne, there's 90% of the parents want their kids to have their phone more than the kids, you know, we do know that, and that's not, you know, they should be in school to learn not to be texting their parent, you know, during the 7th period about something that they could easily talk about after school hours.
Right,
You know, we get that.
And we talked about it, you were both there that, you know, that we talked earlier this summer about, it's truly addictive. Like,
It is.
drives kids crazy, they can't focus because they're like, the phone is calling them, you know? And so even if they're not doing really mean things, it's taking, interfering with the
Distracting
learning.
from their education.
right, yeah.
Right.
Well,
So it's a work in progress
yeah.
and we'll have to keep, troubleshooting to see what else we can do to.
Do you wanna look at the policy again, and see if there's any more changes that, can we?
So with the policy is like a building level policy, so it's a rule for school. right?
Understand.
So we could, I mean, it wouldn't have to be a change in board policy. It would,
Be
yes,
cause I know each school has different set,
Yeah,
different,
right.
okay.
And it's definitely something
There
to
used to
look
be
at.
stuff for water bottles, you couldn't have one at the TRA.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, boy.
Trust me, my dog used to.
Oh,
water
boy, Tom, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
okay.
So some
Oh,
stuff's got
boy.
better.
Molly, was there anything else that you?
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanna make sure that you're good. And I just wanted to follow up, so we talked about the girls wrestling. And I'm glad that Stacy did a phenomenal job doing minutes, because I had a heck of a time kind of trying to figure out where we left off, I was a little confused. when you presented to the group about, you know, the athletic committee meeting regarding, girls wrestling and what the options look like, and basically, at this point, you know, your recommendation was to add an assistant coach position to assist with the female wrestlers for this fiscal year, where they would be allowed to wrestle both, boys and girls, and to basically have the wrestling team instead of a boys wrestling team. But then also, that we would need to revisit this next year. So with that said, and given the amount of time that was invested by a group of individuals, to really, you know, push this girls wrestling team, because we understand that, this definitely continues to grow. Is there a plan in place so we don't have what we've seen this last year, where it took a year to get to the, to create this athletic committee for the presentations? Is there something?
So again, I mean, some of these decisions have to be made on how many kids are gonna wrestle.
The interest.
Right, the
So-
interest, so, you know, there are, my understanding is there are a lot of young ones coming up,
Okay,
females,
okay,
and at the same time, the sport is changing.
The stuff
The
that
girls
Murphy went over.
wrestling is
Yep.
taking a turn to a different style, so there is, that's why in a year, we really have to make a change.
okay,
Like this year, this plan offered the girls the most opportunity,
yep,
right? Next year, it's all gonna change, so we should know in the next couple of months definitively what's gonna happen there.
okay.
And then also know how many girls we have coming up. And then if it's it's essentially a different sport, then yeah, we're gonna have to make a change, but we've gotta have girls who wanna wrestle.
Expressing interest, sure, okay.
Right, and we also have to
And
have
then a
the,
coach.
Yeah, right, of course, right, that's why we'd have to have a
Yeah.
plan in place and
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
what the requirements look like and the
Right.
new things that are coming down the pipeline, yep, I understand that, there was a lot to take in, and I'm glad we had
I
a
mean, there
summary
are
here.
some other things on the table that we have tossed around too, like, so if we only have a couple, you know, which is hard, but like, can we, you know, work with another school?
Yeah.
Transportation is a problem there, but
Somebody
you know,
brought
there's
that
some,
up.
there may be some other workarounds.
Okay,
I mean, the goal is absolutely to give our kids every opportunity that we can, you know, afford for them.
sure, yeah, well, I do appreciate the recap and summary, because this was very helpful to kind of understand where we left off, because again, my takeaway was a little different, so this was very helpful, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things we have to wait is find out exactly what the state is deciding before we can even
Move forward.
Yeah, right, because until we know that, we don't know left, right,
Fair
center,
enough.
up, down.
Okay, and that's all I had actually, so thank you, you answered all my other questions, thank you so much.
This year, would we have a 50% capture rate for applicants?
Oh, for girls wrestling.
Yeah, I believe it was 6 total that initially showed interest in 1, 2, 3 that are actually, is it 3 on the team? Does anybody know for sure?
There's 2 on the team for sure.
Varsity 2, there's 3 modified, and there is 8 in youth club.
Okay, so.
The
younger
interest is
definitely-
increasing.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And it always works from the bottom up, because when you get to this level, most of them have been participating in a sport. So they may not want to
Yeah.
switch.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
they've established their kind of favorite thing at that point.
Yep.
Yes, that's good, we're good. Need to advertise it.
Mr. Casper.
I guess just as a board member, I just would like to just bring up again that, Mr. Maslin, what an honor and a privilege as a board member to have him on the board, 2 different times. The knowledge that he had, the way he looked at things, and just as a person, so.
Thank you. Good man. That's my uncle. Just one thing, and maybe it's already in the policy, but as we consider the trial period for the youth club, I think it's gonna be important for us to know that at all times there's somebody that is CPR AED trained and has, you know, those kind of skills. So, and knows where the AED is, things like that. I do not want us to have a situation where we're not prepared like we have seen some other venues. And there's a young man that passed away from a lacrosse
activity, things like that. So I would just ask that we figure out how that can be possibly managed also. I know it's a big ask, and if you need somebody to do the CPR AED training for people, I can do that, but I just wish I would like us to look at that.
Is there something within our like insurance, so it's required or legally or?
So from a youth club perspective, we're putting all of our coordinators, coaches and assistants, we are covering the cost of their training. And as far as this goes, the likelihood of youth club using it during this trial period is about 2%. Because we've been able to manage all of the basketball activities through the other 6 days. This will be primarily done with the baseball program that's through the school, which will have Steve Samsel as the head. And as a certified coach for 3 sports, I have to assume he is well certified. I am
But if
also.
he's not here, then.
So
but
we
wanna
will make sure that, yeah, and that's completely reasonable and very prudent. So I completely concur.
Yeah,
I was a New York State EMT for a while as well, so.
Good comment, Chris.
Even if it's only a 2% chance, I hate to see that 2% happen, you know?
Well, if it's youth club, it would also be me. So.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I'm glad that youth club is being proactive in terms of getting all of their coaches certified. And that Chris is thinking that, because,
Listen, we're a rural area.
Yeah.
And regardless, the last thing I want is anybody to be in a position where they could end up having a cardiac incident at the Little League field in Lyle, and the ambulance is 35 minutes away.
Yeah.
So we purchased 5 AEDs from the youth club perspective so that we could start distributing them.
Wonderful.
Because to get an ambulance down into the soccer bowl or, to the fields in Lyle, I mean, it's, Mr. Scully will tell you that unfortunately, the coverage of EMS up here has diminished greatly in the last 25 to 30 years.
yep, an hour and a half in the middle of the night to get an ambulance to my house.
Say your time estimate's very conservative.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, that's a good comment, and I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Sean.
Sorry to interject. I know
No,
it's not my place.
That, there are times when it is perfectly appropriate, and that was, so no worries.
Good.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, everybody. I think we had some really good conversations. We have a lot to think about. Also, you should have, on the drive, there should be an updated, board policy goals. Now, this will be going into super event.
We don't go into super eval with our board, do we?
One of them has,
Super eval.
yeah, super eval has the board.
Oh, it
goals
does,
in
okay, because I
yes.
was getting confused.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we're gonna use that when we do the self-evaluation, we're gonna be looking at our goals. So, Chris took some awesome notes and we've updated the board policy, so you guys can take a look at it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I tried to incorporate what you had.
Thank you.
Yep.
I
No,
see
we
that.
tried
Thank you so
to
much.
Incorporate everything that was in there, and if you have suggestions or comments, please just shoot them my way. And, I do wanna, again, say Eddie was and still is an incredible person, and he is going to be sorely missed in this community. He did a lot for a lot of people.
The onboarding for Superval. We're gonna get some training and,
Yeah,
yeah.
they said that emails came to you?
Yes.
I'm in. All right.
Yep, I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
And yeah, so we can do, next meeting.
Do you need help?
I think they were pretty
I
flexible.
didn't look at it.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah. But, and also one of the things that we put on our board goals was to begin creating a plan for onboarding new
board members.
New board members. So if any of you have suggestions or ideas, can you please email them to me so that we can start gathering that? I'm also going to contact NISBA for, to see what resources they have in terms of, suggestions. And
I just haven't emailed it to you yet. I'm
No,
getting
I-
some together, so.
I know,
I'm
but
sorry.
even if you only have a
Yeah,
couple to
I
start
meant to-
with, just
yeah.
just keep shooting them to me, and so that way we're gathering them all together in one place.
Am I only sending it to you, just an email through this,
Yeah,
Okay.
just so that,
Definitely.
and we'll figure out a time when, either as part of a meeting or a work session or something that we can start discussing them. But this way, we have them being gathered in one place
Okay.
and, go from there.
Excellent.
So, anything is appreciated. So all of that being said, I'm assuming we do not need another, okay. So we are going to adjourn the meeting at 9:44. So.
Second.
Thank you, Tiana. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
All right.
And thank you very much, everybody, for attending this evening. Come on,
Thank you.
go and have
Merry
a-
Christmas.